Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. This is Let's Play Chaos and Noah. I ignored Kozapi's question and tried to. I didn't want to be on auto. Just trying to pull this up. Try hardest to think. This homeless man that Kozapi met, was he working with the Shogun? Or otherwise, why would he bring her up? Why would he bring up whose eyes are those? Who was the boy they were talking to who'd created whose eyes are those? Me? No, that couldn't be right. I wasn't special. I wasn't a hero. I couldn't even get the D sword. I wanted to just be an ordinary person, NPC. I didn't want to be special. I never wanted to go through anything like that. What happened over and again? Why am I on auto? I don't want to be on auto. Then who was he talking about? I could think of only one possibility, the true New Gen killer, Shogun. He might have looked like an old man, but he had the voice of a figure of a young boy. There was something clearly weird about him too. He was special. 2 of the 6 New Gen cases involved message whose eyes are those. It was a phrase I'd only ever used in my head. What could this seemingly innocuous phrase mean? Did it hide the reason that Shogun was after me? Should I try looking for that homeless man? He should be somewhere in the city. He was probably still carrying the sign with the weird message on it too. What would I do if I found him? I stopped and then I shook my head and rejected the idea. What good would it do to find him? I might just be putting myself in more danger. He might be one of Shogun's servants trying to lure me into a trap. What if I went to find the guy and triggered another quest? I'd experienced more than enough fear and pain already. It was probably the same for Kozapi. Why had she come to me with the ability to speak directly into my mind right now? Maybe she was like Yua and taking orders from Shogun. From all that stuff she said about killing and almost killing people, she might be involved in the New Gen murders. And Remy had disappeared after the incident. She had stopped contacting me. Yasi was in the hospital after the failed suicide attempt. Minami was safe. And the 2 people who were my allies were gone. Was there any guarantee that Remy would come back? Was it even true that she just stopped coming to school? I only had Kozapi's word for that. And I couldn't tell if Kozapi was lying or not. I could feel the hairs on my body begin to stand up on end. My world was just this empty, desolate place. I had nothing to believe in. Everything seemed like a lie. That's called a paranoid delusion. Or common sense. I mean, tomato, tomato. Kozapi was standing right behind me. Well, just everyone's like, why have you not bought a new controller yet? Eventually. No, it's called common sense. Her internal voice was as happy as ever. She was carrying her wicked-looking D-sword in her hands and looking up at me innocently. I looked away. Are you on my side or my enemy, witch? Did you come to kill me? Kozapi just... Oh, Kozapi suddenly let out a weird shout. I looked up in surprise to see that she wasn't looking at me, but waving her hand off in a random direction. I found Senna! Did you say Senna? Don't tell me. I followed where she was looking and was sure enough. Oh, is that you, Kozue? Senna Aoi was walking toward us, holding a D-sword, and looking like she was in an extremely bad mood. I tensed up and got ready to run. What was Senna doing here? Was this another coincidence or a carefully planned trap? Did the 2 of them know each other? If so, Kozapi called her. Maybe the 2 of them could kill me together? I told you, that's a paranoid delusion. Is it? but I don't know what to believe in.
だからそれは被害妄想だよ。だからそれは被害妄想だよ。
But I don't know what to believe in. I had met Senna several times and she never tried to hurt me. But that didn't mean she wasn't my enemy, and she was scary.
セナさんは怖くないよ。
Senna's not scary. Kosubi, don't say that where she can hear it.
怖い？何のことだ？
Scary? What are you talking about? Just like I thought, Senna could hear Kosubi's voice too.
なんでもないです。
Nothing. I was freaking out, but Kosubi looked really happy. She was still staring at the ground, but she was smiling as she tugged the hem of Senna's skirt. The sight of the two of them was so heartwarming that I started to feel stupid for being nervous. Hello? They were like sisters, a strong-willed big sister, and the timid little sister, who looked up to her more than anyone else in the world. Okay, can you see my delusions, or are you just hearing my thoughts? And they both had flat-chested. Good job. No, wait. Don't think that. Kosubi will hear you again, and if you're not careful, you could easily die here. What's the deal with these two? Did they know each other from school? But they were in different grades. Maybe they're both connected by the fact that they had swords. Or maybe they both worked for Shogun. I got into a cat's paw stance so I could run away at any moment. Specifically, I stood up on my tiptoes. Supposedly this made it so you could run really fast, like a cat. I guess I'd read about it in manga once.
セナさんはね、コズビーが東京に来てから最初のお友達なのら。
Senna's the first friend Kosubi made since making come to Tokyo. Right? Sen didn't answer. Instead, she just glared at me. I thought she might attack me with the sword in her hand, but she didn't do anything. She didn't really seem upset that I called her scary either.
小杖、
Kosubi,
どうしてこいつと？
what are you doing with him?
たくみちゃんはクラスメートです。
Takumi's my classmate. She sounded really excited about
ほいでね、
And-
たくみちゃんは
and
コズビーの剣が見えるんだよ。
it. You can see Kosubi's sword, too.
それは知っている。
I know
こ
that.
いつもギガロマニアックス。
He's a gigalomaniac. A gigalo what?
ギガロマニアックス。
Why do I want Kozupi's voice as, like, my text-to-speech function, just to read books and stuff to me? Just saying, I like the voice. I want to hear it in English. Gigalomaniac.
理想度が見える人のこと。
Somebody who can see a
たく
diesel.
みちゃんもそうだよ。
That includes you. Gigalomaniac. Who the hell picked that name? And if it had that name, did that mean it was more common than I thought it was?
あは、セナさんはガルガリ君買いに行くとこなんですね。
Aren't you always buying those, like, ice cream things? Since I'm about to go buy a Garakurt.
それは。
Well, everyone Kosubi had read Senna's mind. Come to think of it, Senna had been eating her last time we met, too. It was almost winter, and with the winter was cold, I couldn't understand why anybody would eat popsicles. She must really like them.
ほいじゃあ、みんなで一緒に
Okay,
行きましょう。
let's all get one together. Heard Kosubi's voice speak in my head as she playfully grabbed Senna's hand and started to
た
walk.
くみちゃんも、はーやく。
Takumi, you too.
あ、いや、僕
Oh, I turned to leave, but suddenly Kosubi's eyes were filled with tears. She silently pleaded with me with her wet eyes. Next to her, Senna was looking like she was ready to bite my head off.
ついてこい。
Come with us.
お前にもおごってやる。
My treat. The look of it, Senna was weighed Kosubi's teary eye. Attack 2. She motioned to me reluctantly, and she started heading toward the convenience store right behind the police box. We each bought a garaguri-kun, and the two of them sat down railings in front of the police box and began to nibble on their popsicles. Kozubi looked really happy. Sana looked straight-faced. I was on the verge of passing out from fear. There was a cop right in front of the police box. But the girls didn't seem concerned the slightest that they were violating Japan's laws against deadly weapons right in front of his face. And what was the cop's problem? I could see the giant swords right in front of his face just fine, but instead of arresting them, he was ignoring them.
食べないの
You're not going to eat yours? Since Kozubi was watching, I had no choice but to start nibbling on my garaguri-kun. I was intensely focused on where the people around us were looking. Sana and Kozubi were cute. The sight of two cute, flat-chested sisters and a creepy otaku like me standing out in the winter, cold eating pops was so surreal that we were sure to stand out. Or was I being paranoid after all? I could still hear the chuckles of my classmates. Was I hearing things? Was I imagining them? I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want to be seen. I was scared of other people's gazes. I should have worn a hat. I wanted to get out of here as soon as possible. I decided that the fastest way to do this was to chow down on my popsicle. As I did, though, my body started to freeze. This was definitely going to give me diarrhea later. And weren't the two of them cold?
ねえ小杖なぜこいつと一緒なんだ
What are you doing with this guy?
こいつじゃなくてたくみ
He has
さ
a
んで
name,
す
you
よ
know. Takumi.
たくみさんが悪い人にいじめられてて倒れてたのら
Takumi was being bullied by bad people and got hurt.
解放
So
してあげた
Kazubi
の
nursed him back to health. Ha! Did she nurse me?
ディソードを使ったのか
Use the D sword?
殺したかったどっかバキって
I wanted to kill them, curse slam. Kozubi tried to mimic the motion of killing someone with her hands, but since one hand was holding the huge D sword, she had to do it with the other. And of course, the other hand held the Karakuri. Did you drop your ice cream? No. No, it shattered, no. Her popsicle, which she hadn't taken a single bite of, flew out of her hand in a perfect arc. Then it landed on the ground, shattered. Do you want mine? Then again, aren't we still right next to the ice cream shop? Kozu looked at the remains of her popsicle with tears in her
う
eyes.
かつな真似は避けろと言っただろ
I told you to be careful.
ごめんなさい
I'm sorry.
もったいないないお化けが出ちゃう
The don't waste food monster's
ア
gonna
イス
get
の
me.
ことじゃない
I don't mean
デ
the
ィソードのこ
popsicle.
とだ
I mean the D sword. Sana handed Kozubi her half-eaten garakuri. Evidently, she was giving it to her. Kozubi smiled through her tears and bobbed her head in thanks. I didn't realize that Sana could be so nice. That was surprising.
でも悪い人には
It was
罰
so
ゲームを
surprising.
するのが
Who was it who'd hurt those thugs so badly? Was it Kozubi? Or was it me?
たくみちゃんたくみさん
Takumi! Takumi!
セナさんはねすごーく何でも知ってるんだよ
Sana knows a whole lot of
リ
things.
ソードっていう名前もセナさんに教えてもらったのら
She was the one who told me the name D sword.
まだあと
And
リアルブータ
real butts?
あれれ
Butts? Buddhas?
ブッダ
リアルブート
Real boot. What?
そうそう
Oh, right. What was that? I never heard of that word before. Oh, that was Giggler What's It for that matter.
リアルブートしてない剣は誰にも見えなかったはずなのにねセナさんにだけ見えてたの
Nobody else could see my sword when it wasn't real booted. But Sana
リソー
could.
ドが見える人に会ったのセナさん
Sana
が
was the first person I
初めてだっ
met
たんだ
who could see a D sword.
その時は
When I realized, I
なんで見
went,
えるんですかって聞いち
Booyah!
ゃっ
And then I asked how she could see it.
たギガロマニアッ
Then
クスだからなんだ
she said
って
because she's a giglomaniac.
ギガロマニアックスって
What's a giglomaniac?
さっき言ったのら
I just told you.
剣が見える人だよ
It's somebody who can see the sword. No, I meant more specifically like how does it work?
ディラックの海に干渉できる力を持つ
Deroxy, that's a word that I remember from Evangelion. Someone with the power to exert influence on the Deroxy. I want to look up how you define that here. A concept in quantum physics proposed by physicist Paul Dirac, which describes an unobservable soup of every kind of particle found distributed equally through all the universe. part of the whole theory which is related to the wave equation, Dirac equation, that ties together quantum physics and relativity. Dirac defined a vacuum as space packed tightly with negatively charged elementary particles to the point where no negative energy particles could be created. This vacuum is the Dirac sea. That's what a gigalomaniac is. Senna answered instead. The Dirac sea. Senna glanced at me contemptuously when I didn't recognize the term. Well, why are you looking at me like that? I'm actually pretty smart, you know. I vaguely remember the Dirac sea being some constant quantum physics. It's like an unobservable boundary plane filled with negative energies. That's the general idea. And the D-sword is a terminal that allows you to interact with it. Think of it like a pipe, with its other end stuck into the Dirac sea. Since the sword is connected to the Dirac sea, it also composed of negative matter, which can constantly infinitely collapse. That's why normal people can't see or interact with it. It's essentially nothing more than a delusion. The D-sword serves as a shortcut for all kinds of real boots. So basically it's a boundary between the physical world and the spiritual world. Or the world of matter and the world of energy. Or the world of... But then again, there's so many ways you could define that too. Like, okay, there's the physical world we exist in, there's the spiritual one, there's the world of a person's imagination, there's the digital world that exists within a computer or the internet. By expanding the channel between the Dirac sea and the D-sword, Dirac's equation hole theory causes a pair production, generating particles and antiparticles. These particles are the delusions generated by gigalomaniacs. From our universe perspective, they're best thought of as errors. If you want to make these errors real, you send the generated particles into other people's dead spots. The particles are immediately converted into electrical signals and generate a shared awareness in the people around them, thus becoming real. And if you want to get rid of them, you simply do the opposite. You send antiparticles in dead spots to cause... Okay. This is Dimerge and Hakai. Dimerge is the concept of a spiritual being or something in existence having power from belief. This could work like Warhammer, the orcs painting something red, and it goes faster because it's painted red, because they believe things that are red go faster. Also, there's the concept that a lot of gods, say like Greek gods and such, get power from being praised. So it's people believing in them and thinking about them that give them their powers in the first place. Or even make, if you believe strongly enough in, like I say, a superstition or a monster or some sort of fictional thing that's just written in, that you can actually write something that doesn't exist. And if enough people believe in it, because of the shared belief, it'll become a real sentient being. That's the concept of Dimerge. What you're talking about here is the antiparticles, the dead spot. That's Hakai. You're basically erasing somebody from existence. You're basically explaining how Hakai would work. In a degree. Granted, there's probably ways like, oh, you vibrate stuff like it's a microwave or this, but I mean, it's basically Dimerge and Hakai that we're talking about here. Come to think of it, Senna had something similar before. There are three numbers that can explain, quantum computers. They can be 1 and 0 at the same time. The way our world functions, 0, 1, and -1. The D-sword is a shortcut to creating that -1. This was starting to make my head hurt. So you're saying that if people around you all recognize your delusion as real, in the same way, then it becomes real? Let's take the Garagura gun you're holding as an example. What does it look like to you?
だって
It looks like a big blue
み
popsicle.
その水色のアイスは
Can you prove that
本当に
this
現
blue
実だと証
popsicle
明できる
actually exists? What else could it be? You could recognize it instantly by its distinctive color, and if you ate it, it would feel cold, which would be common
人
sense.
は
But
目で見た
a
も
human
のを
being can
脳が
only
認識し
understand
て
the
初
object
め
you're
て
holding as
それ
a
が
blue
水
popsicle
色のアイスと理
after
解
the
でき
brain
る
becomes aware of it and what it sees.
脳が
But
本人の意
there's
識
also
し
the
ないまま
possibility
に
that your
嘘を
brain
つい
is
ている
lying
可
to
能
you,
性だってあるんだ
and
ぞ
you aren't conscious of it.
脳が生み出した
It's
自分
possible
一
that
人だけ
what
が
you're
そう思
seeing
い込
is
ん
in
でいる
fact
妄
a
想かもしれ
delusion
ないんだ
generated by your brain.
じゃあどうやって現実だって証
Then
明
how do you
するの
prove something's real?
他の人も
That's the neat
お
part.
前の持って
You
いるものが
don't.
水色のアイスであると
Omni-Man
観測
reference.
すれば
If others
そ
observe
れ
the
は
item you're
二人
holding
以
as
上の
blue
人間の
popsicle,
共通の認
then
識
you
と
are
なる
created to share awareness between at least two
お
people.
前一人だけの妄想
It's
じゃ
no
なくな
longer
る
just your delusion.
妄想を現実にす
Turn
る
the
ときに
process around,
それを
and
逆
you
説
can
的
make
に
a
捉えればいい
delusion into reality. So in other words, you can create a delusion in your own mind, and using the particles created by the D-sword, force the other people around you to see it, thereby making it real. And I had this power too?
うずぴさっぱり
Ghostby didn't understand that at all.
とにかく
Anyway,
この剣は普通の人に
normally
は見え
people
ない
can't
の
see this sword. Ghostby gave the Garakurikan back to Senna and suddenly ran out toward the street. For some reason, she began swinging the D-sword at people around her.
やめ
No! I covered my eyes. She'd finally revealed her true nature. Ghostby was actually an insane killer. The street must be covered in blood right now. The one thwack with that giant sword and you'd be sliced in two. Ghostby would be arrested on the spot. We were right in front of a police box after all. The cops would have seen the whole
匠
thing.
さんそんな
Takumi?
ことにはなってないよ
That didn't happen at all. Why was it so quiet? She just killed people with a sword in broad daylight, in the middle of Shibuya. But nobody was screaming. I couldn't hear the cops shouting either. I slowly opened my eyes. Nothing had happened. Kozumi was still swinging around the sword, though now she looked a little embarrassed. It was colliding with other people, with railings, the ground, but nothing happened. It wasn't cutting anything. In fact, the sword was going right through it all, as if everything around it was just an illusion. No, that wasn't right. It was the other way around. The sword was what didn't exist. The people around her weren't reacting because they couldn't see it.
ピンポンピンポン
Wouldn't they react to the person dancing in the middle of the street, though? Ding, 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 ding.
理想度は妄想の剣なのだ
The D-sword is made out of delusions. Ayase had said something similar once. Actually, she said that only those with the power could see the sword. Next, we set aside annoyance and nibbled on her garment.
あの理想度は
Right now, the
今は
D-sword
小
is
勢
nothing
の
more
作っ
than
た
an
エラ
error
ーでしか
that
ない
Kose has
周囲
created.
共通認識はまだ
She
成
hasn't
立してい
created
ない
any shared awareness yet.
リアルブートしたら
If I
みん
real
なに
boot
見えるよ
it,
うになるの
everybody
で
will
す
be able to see it. Real booting. That would be when you send particles into other people's dead spots, right? Not that I was sure what a dead spot
ぐ
was.
しゃーってしたり
Then you can
ドカー
go
ンってできるように
swash
もなるよ
and kerthwack. I'd like that more if she used words instead of sound effects. I don't know, I like it. But I kind of got the basic idea. Swash was probably swinging the sword, and kerthwack would be hitting with it. What was she swinging at? What was she hitting? Was Kozumi really doing something so scary? And did I have that power too? No, I wasn't special. I'm not a gigalomaniac, whatever that is. That's why I couldn't get my D-sword.
剣は見えたよね
But you saw it, right?
だからそのうち
So
匠さんに
eventually-
モテるの
You'll get one. I can't. Even when all that stuff was happening over front, I couldn't get it. I could see it, but I didn't know how to grab it.
どうやって手に入れるか
As for how you
と
get it, Kozumi looked at Senna expectantly. Senna sighed
バイオ
again.
リズムの上昇によって
Neuron.
中脳平野
Escalated
系ニューロンの
biorhythms
ドーパミ
cause
ンが
overproduction
過
of
剰分
dopamine
泌され
in
た
the
時
neurons
理
of
想
the
度が現れる
mesolimbic system. That's when the D-sword
それは
appears.
危機的な状況
That
や
can happen during dangerous situations
憎し
or when you're feeling excitement, sadness, hatred, or laughter. I'd rather go with the first or the fourth.
ドーパミン分泌量が
The
多けれ
greater
ば
the amount of
それだけ
dopamine,
観測しや
the
すくなる
easier it becomes to observe the D-sword.
匠さん
Yeah,
そういうことなのら
that's how it works, Takumi. Senna's knowledge was incredible. It was possible that she was incredibly smart. Actually, she knew so much that there was an entire field of study about this, Call it a gigalomaniacology or something. I can almost guarantee there was no other teenage girl in Japan who could talk so much complicated things and use such technical terms. Where had she learned all this? Why did I keep meeting all these mysterious people? Somebody please give me the answer. I'm tired of thinking. It made me feel sick knowing only a few hints, but nothing that really mattered. But I didn't feel like looking into it myself because none of these people were normal. Bitterly, I looked last night at my melted gargari popsicle. Huh, I won. Near the bottom of the stick, I could see the word winner. Haha! Closest we had come at was now looking at the stick in my hands. Wow. Takumi!
大した運だな。
You've got incredible luck.
セナさん、自分も当たりが出
Sena's
て欲しかった
jealous.
って羨ましがってるのら。
She wanted to be a winner too. I mean, you can have my popsicle.
そんなことは思っていない。
That's not what I was thinking. I don't think you can fool Cosby like that. She knows exactly what.
セナさんはいつも当たりが出ない
Senna always gets really excited when she eats a gargari popsicle. She hopes she'll be a winner.
当たりを引いたのはどれくらい
How often do you win?
1割3分の何。
13 points. Okay, so you have one sometimes. 13.7% of the time. Did she call it to calculate it really precisely? She must have kept a running tally of each one she ate. Senna finished her gargari. She glared at her stick and grunted. Except for the looking face, she wasn't a winner. What do you win? A free popsicle? You can have this.
どうぞ。
I nervously offered her the winning popsicle
他
stick.
人に施しを受け
I
るつもりは
refused to
ない。
accept another person's generosity.
私は自分の
I'm
可能性
attempting
を
to
試
test
し
the
ているだけ
limits
だ。
of my own possibilities.
でも本心では欲しいって言ってるね。
But she's actually thinking that she wants it.
あげますよ。
You can have it.
僕、アイスは
I
あ
don't
んま
really
り
eat
食べ
popsicles.
ないし。
Okay, you want a free popsicle.
断る。
I don't want it. Okay. She wasn't even slightly interested? What a rude woman turned down something's kind offer like that. Or was it just her being tsundere? It's not moe if it's 3D, understand?
ほいじゃあこうしようよ、
Okay.
セナさん。
Let's try this. Senna,
この間二人で一緒にお勉強した
if you can say the
渋谷
Shibuya
言葉を言って
words
くれたら
that we practiced
特にさん
together,
が当たり棒を
Takumi
あげるそうです
we'll give you the winning stick.
いらないと言っているだろう。
Said I don't want it.
いいから
Come on.
早
Hurry, the words you
楽し
say
い
when
時に
you're
言う
having
言葉
a good time.
っていうか
And
超楽しくて、
like-
マジやばい超ベリーグ
like so grody, gag me with a spoon. What? Do you even like words? They're like a decade out of date too. Had the two of them been studying that, it was kind of cute in a way,
ー
but
渋谷に馴染
we
む
need
ため
to
だ
say
わ
them so we can fit in here in Shibuya.
ささセナち
Come on, Senna.
無理。
I
今は無理だ。
can't.
ゃん無理じゃない
You can.
無理だ。
I can't.
う
Sob. Kazuo silently stared at Senna with tears in her eyes. Even Senna couldn't resist that. Sigh.
で、
And
っていうか、超楽しくて。マジやばい。
and like so
チョベ
grody,
リグ。
gagged me with a spoon.
相変わらずセナちゃんは片言ですね
Senna always sounds so awkward when she talks like that. Senna had started blushing and was turning away from me. I felt like I'd just seen something very rare and precious. This was the complete opposite of all the complicated theories she'd been spewing a moment ago. All hail Daryabode. I had just seen new possibilities in 3D girls. Good job, Cosby. As promised, I gave Senna that winning stick. She took it with less resistance than I'd been expecting. Yeah, you need positive experiences. Those are hard to come by.
礼は言わ
I'm
ない
not
から。
going to say thanks, okay? That's cool. I'm gonna head out. She very pointedly picked up the D sword again and glared at me before looking back at her own feet. Why did she have to glare at me after all? I'd done something nice for her, dealing with Senna was always such pain. I wish she'd just stay in dairy mode all day.
それよりお前、
Anyway, you...
たくみさんですよ
Takumi?
匠さんなのか。
Your name's
違
Takumi?
う。
Well,
シャンはつけ
I
なくても。
guess it is.
名前は
What's your full name? I was pretty sure I'd given it to her before, but evidently she'd forgotten it. Takumi Nishijo.
だったら
Nishijo. Then
もうこれ以上エラーを作るのはやめておけ。
you need to stop creating errors.
は
What?
なんで
Why?
剣は自分の心なのら否定しちゃダメ。
Sword is a part of mine. You shouldn't
コ
deny
ズ
it.
ピーはこの剣のおか
Kozupi is
げ
only
で助
here
かったよ。
because of the sword, you know? Only here because of the sword? What had happened in her past? I was also curious about the wish to kill she mentioned before
妄
too.
想を現実にする行為
Making
は
delusions
リスクが
real
つきまとう。
can be risky.
粒子とともに追生成さ
The
れる反粒
antiparticles
子
which are
は
produced
理
alongside
想
the
度にストック
particles
されていくんだ。
build up within the D sword.
反粒子は
Mathematically
数学的に言
speaking,
えば過去へ
antiparticles
向かうもの
are
だ。
things that go into the past.
ストックすればする
The
ほど
more they build up,
ギガロマニ
the
アッ
more
ク
the
スは
Gigalomaniac
現
finds
在の状
themselves
態とのズレが
becoming
発生し
disconnected from their present state. Are you saying that I lost my memory because I used my fucking sword and then I forgot about my sword?
やがてその矛盾により
Eventually, this
存在と
disconnect
しての自己
causes
崩
their
壊を
very
得た。
being to collapse. Please to speak Japanese, good thanks. Kozo,
あま
you
り
need to
理想度を
stop
出
using
す
the
のをやめ
D
ろんだ。
sword so much too.
普通に生活していきた
You
いな
want
ら
to live in normal life.
私の
You
忠
need to
告を聞
listen
け。
to my warning.
これはお
I'm
前た
telling
ちの
you
命に
this
関
for
わる
your own
話だ。
good. Safety. Sen didn't seem to be joking. She didn't seem to be like whoever
まして
joked.
や西条、
Especially you,
お前は
Nishijo.
ディソードなしでリ
You
アルブート
managed
し
a real boot
本来
without a D sword.
そんなことで
That
きるは
shouldn't
ずが
even
ない
be
んだ。
possible.
リラックの海には
The D swords
Disord
are
を通してしか
required
干
to
渉できないんだ。
interface with the Duroc
お
Sea.
前は普通じゃない。
You're not normal.
奴らに目をつけられてもお
They
かし
may
くない。
come after you.
やつ
They?
らって
ギガロマニアックスの
There
力
are
を
people
悪
who
用
are
しよう
trying
として
to
いる
use
連
the
中がいる。
Gigalomaniac's power for evil.
それって
Do you
将
mean
軍
Shogun?
知らない。
I've never heard that name before.
誰だそれ。
Who are they? Kozubi, did Senna lie to me?
ついてないよ。
Nope.
西条、
Nishijo?
将軍とは誰だ。
He's the new gen killer. Nishijo, tell me who Shogun is. The coldness in her voice made me shudder. Suddenly I couldn't look her in the eye. He's the new gen killer. She grabbed me by the collar and hurt to breathe. Well, technically I don't need to be able to breathe in order to tell you because we have adorable telepathy. Sub, why did she have to be so violent? Did I do something
そい
wrong?
つは40代ぐらいの男か。
Was he a man in his 40s? He looks like he's in his 90s.
違うよ
No,
小
a
さな
tiny
じい
old
さんだよ
man. Senna immediately let
そ
go.
いつもギガロマニアックス
Is he a Gigalomaniac too then?
わからない
I don't know.
でも
But
ニュージェネの真犯人だよ
He's the one behind the new gen killings.
真犯人。
The new gen killings. Senna put her fingers to her chin and began to think. The mood had suddenly turned sour. I felt a strange, indescribable fear. Senna knew something. But what? Who were these people who were trying to use the power of the Gigalomaniacs for evil?
そうだ
Oh, I know. Let's all take a picture
記念
together
撮影しましょ
to
う。
remember today. You know? Over there. Suddenly Kozumi's shrill voice broke silence. I looked to see where she was pointing. It was... Okay. Arcade? Up, the arcade next to the police box. If she wanted to take a picture there, what can only mean she wanted to play. Well, this is adorable. I look like I haven't slept in... Exactly what it thought it did. Takumi, get in the center.
いや僕は
No, I...
セナさん
Senna?
横見てたらダメです
No looking away.
私は
I didn't really do this stuff. I don't really do
コ
this
ズ
stuff.
ピーだって初め
It's
てなの
Kozapi's
が
first
ちょっと
time
ド
too.
キ
You're the only one who doesn't look awkward about this. I'm so excited. Kozapi began tapping the buttons in the photos post consoles. A voice came from the screen before Sen and I could get ready.
ポーズ
Okay, pose. And click. Well, this is adorable. The Gigalomaniac trio. It's a dorp. The photo it took didn't show the D swords. Okay, guys, see you tomorrow. Kozuki smiled and waved a little as she disappeared beyond the turnstiles. Sen and I watched her go. I would have preferred that she didn't leave me alone with Sena. But from the look of things, she wasn't ready to leave Shibuya yet. Was she going to wander around here like she always did? I wanted to head home immediately, but first there was something I needed to ask this professor of Gigglemekana. Sena just ignored me, frowny face. She was a little better when Kozuki were out, but she was still so hard to deal with. My heart was pounding fast, but I figured she had to at least be hearing me, so I asked her a question. Is Kozuki's voice a Gigglemaniac power? I wasn't expecting an answer. I assumed she'd just give me a hunt, and that would be the end of it. Sena gave me a glance before looking out over the big TVs at the scramble crossing. Her inner voice is a delusion. She actually answered. All Kozue does is send it to another person's dead spot. It works the same way as I just explained. The particles are transformed into sound, not sight, just like a phone. And when she sends the delusion of her voice into your mind, it creates the required shared awareness. It may feel like you're talking via telepathy, but it's totally different. Then how can she hear what I'm thinking? I certainly wasn't sending delusions in her dead spots or whatever. It should be one-way communication. But we were able to talk to each other regardless. Gigglemaniacs have the power to see others' delusions. Kozu's power in that guard is especially strong. She forced to see the delusions that other people are constantly shedding. Seeing delusions, was that possible? I couldn't do that, so maybe I wasn't a Gigglemaniac at all. Sena's eyes becoming from a distance to turn to gaze. The television's people walking through the scars. Every Gigglemaniac has been broken once in the past. But broken? What's been broken? Their mind. Before Kozue came to Tokyo, they pushed her mind past its breaking point. Sena began to tell me what Kozue experienced before coming to school. When she first met Kozue, she'd seen what happened like a video. Kozue had always had the strange ability to read other people's minds. She managed with great effort to come to terms with her power and hide it from other people and lead somewhat of a normal life. Then the mirrors appeared. After she started high school, Kozue started seeing mirrors everywhere. At first, she thought it was just a coincidence. It would only happen maybe twice a day. But then, as time passed, it happened more and more. She would run into people holding mirrors more than 10 times a day. They encounter themselves where nothing special, a person on the street would be holding a mirror. A classmate doing nothing than makeup in the bathroom. But whether it was coincident or deliberate, they always seemed to end up that she would see her reflection in them. And eventually, the ones with the mirrors, both men and women would start to laugh. They'd say in their minds, "Who are you?" In the classroom, at school, on trains, when she was out shopping, she'd see them everywhere she went. It wasn't any one person, in fact, it was different people at the same time. But Kozue became suspicious of everyone holding the mirror. He became suspicious of everyone who was laughing. It wasn't long after that when people weren't even holding mirrors, seemed to be saying, "Who are you?" She was on the verge of having a breakdown, as the voices of their minds echoed in her ears again and again. One day, Kozue looked at herself in the mirror and whispered, "Who are you?" And the moment she spoke, she was terrified that she might soon no longer know who she was. There was a girl on the other side of the mirror, with the same face as her, speaking back. "Who are you?" That's when she stopped speaking. She stopped being able to look at mirrors too. But the voices asking, "Who are you?" didn't go away. She couldn't even tell whose voices they were. She was like a broken fax machine, couldn't refuse incoming calls. Her power made sure that she heard other voices, whether she wanted to or not. There was nothing she could do. Kozu's mind was falling apart. Then one day in her second year of high school, she was staying late cleaning up. 3 of her classmates were whispering to each other as they did their makeup, mirrors in hand, mirrors in laughter. And then the voices asking, "Who are you?" Whether it was the voices of 3 classmates' minds or just a hallucination, it didn't even matter anymore, as she trembled in fear. She saw herself reflected in the mirrors. Her vision went dark for a moment. Was it deliberate or chance? It didn't even matter anymore. Her mind had been under so much pressure for a year that it finally snapped. Next thing she knew, she was screaming, and a murderous instinct had overcome her. She saw the D sword in the corner of her eye, and for the first time she grabbed it. And then she attacked them. All 3 had their mirrors in their right hands, and with the second, she had used her real Buddha D sword to slice their hands off. According to my schedule today wasn't a school day, but I'd come anyway for one reason, to see Rimi. I was sure my DQ class was making fun of me again. It hurt, but I'd be willing to put up with it if it meant positive seeing Rimi. Also, Kozwe's there, so that's nice. So I walked through the gate. I remember my conversation with Senna yesterday. Before we parted ways, Senna said one last thing to me. If you feel like you're going to get more involved in this, whether you want to or not, you need to maintain strong will, one that can turn negatives into positives. Without that strength, your delusions will devour you. So there's probably one path where I choose like evil things with my sword, and then I like die, and there's another one where I don't. Yeah, I know there's 9 different endings. I just don't know what's going on with them. I didn't want to get more, so I didn't ask anything more. I knew I wasn't going to get the D sword anyway. No matter how hard I tried, I wasn't a hero. I was just a loser who couldn't even protect his own little sister. But also, was that the only path in the game other than just falling off the building? There was a chance that Shogun would come back. He seemed to want to come after me as a part of some sort of game. Which means the next quest might start whenever he felt like it. That scared me. The only reason I'd wanted D sword in the first place was because I was so scared of him. How was I supposed to protect myself from him without a sword? Have Rimi stay with me? But Rimi wasn't coming to school. Now, what if he took Rimi's hostage like he did Nami? Wasn't there anybody who could help me? It would have to be somebody who had a D sword. Ayase was injured, so she was out of the question, and then there was no way Senna was going to help me. And Cosby was very strange. I entered the classroom with my head down. I took a single look around the room before I sat down. First, at Rimi's seat, empty. Was she absent again today? Was she really just not coming to school, or was she something more going on? I wanted to see her again, see her cheerful face once more. Next, Kozupi. Hello. She was sitting on her seat, looking down, making herself as small as possible. I remember what Senna said yesterday, which more than explained the way she acted. Good morning, Takumi. Good morning, Kozupi. We didn't look at each other, but we exchanged greetings in our minds. The Deacon girls were grinning at me. It had only been a day. The label of creepy loser Taku made mess on TV wasn't coming out that quickly. The Deacon boys evidently weren't here yet. Those guys were often skipped the first period. That was more than fine by me. I sat down, and then I heard her voice as it called my name.
Taku, ohayo.
Morning, Taku. Rimi? Okay. I gasped and looked up. Rimi was standing in front of me. She gave me a little grin and a wave. It's been a while. Okay. Here's the thing. You're already planning to murder me. Even though you do seem a little sad about it, the fact of the matter is you consider me like too dangerous to like awaken Super Saiyan. But now I have a friend who can read people's minds, who is already a little bit weary of you to begin with. So honestly, if Kozupi doesn't tell me anything, it either means she can't read your mind, or you have some sort of power of that. It's been a while. Rimi. I wasn't imagining her. She was really here. She was breathing. Her hair bounced gently as she moved. She blinked every so often. She was really here. She was here. I felt the need to sniffle coming on. My heart felt like someone squeezing on it hard. I felt like I was about to cry. I lifted myself out of my chair, but then it stopped, unable to move. I'm so glad I got to see you again. Hey, Taku. What's wrong? Are you crying? I shook my head as hard as I could. My deacon class would say I'd be crying. They make fun of me again. I told myself that I couldn't cry. The tears just kept coming. Oh, I get it.
私に再会できて嬉しいんだ。
You're happy to see me again, right?
なんてね。
Just kidding.
ちょっと自意識過剰だったかな。
Maybe I'm being a little self-conscious? All I could do was keep shaking my head. I couldn't even look up at her. If I did, I'd start sobbing right on the spot. Then someone slapped me on the back. Hey, Taku. It was Misumi with the awkward expression on his face. He hadn't slapped me nearly as hard as he used to. Okay, what's up, man? Just yesterday he'd been ignoring me. Why was he talking to me again? If he did, it would ruin his life if he begins in class with bullying. That's right, both Rimi and Misumi would be better off if they didn't talk to me at all. When I didn't respond, Misumi forced a smile into his face. Come on, man. It's too early in the morning to look that gloomy. Well, I know that's just the kind of guy you are. He was being as rude as ever, but it didn't feel like he was being mean. That was just how he always talked.
そういう大地は朝から無駄に爽やかだね。
You're way too chippy this morning, Daichin. I'll have you know. I'm just the right amount of chippy. And is that the first thing you want to say to me after being absent for so
じゃ
long?
あ
Well, you're chipper in a really fake way.
なたく
Hey, Taku.
さどう思うよ
Can you believe this woman? Yeah. I gave him a vague nod and I managed somehow to stop the tears. Life was back to normal, at least in terms of what was in front of me right now. The two of them didn't seem to be bothered at all with the fact that they might end up being bullied for the rest of the class.
そういえば
Hey,
岸本のことを聞いたか
do you hear about Kishimoto? Ayase? I mean, we were standing next to each other during the thing.
まだ入院中らしいぜ
She's still in the hospital.
怪我は大したことなかったんだけど
She wasn't really hurt, but she's in a bad spot mentally.
いいかタク
Listen to me, Taku.
女を落とすのに一
If
番
you want to win a girl's heart, the best time to do it is when she's in a vulnerable spot. That sounds kind of manipulative. That being said, I would say, like, if we were a closer friend with her, we should talk to her, like, to, you know, be supportive. But I don't think me and her know each other well enough for, you know, for her to want me to, you know, help.
というわけで俺
And so that's why I'm going to go visit her in the hospital, you see. I mean, while it's good to visit people in the hospital, you're kind of going for a disingenuous reason, man.
大地最低。
Daichin, you suck, boo-boo. Given the fact you were just having a conversation with Shogun about how to murder me, why do I get the feeling you're probably going to kill Misumi?
今度こそ彼女さんに刺される
Time your
の
girlfriend's actually going to stab you, you know. Or Rimi's going to stab you.
お見舞いに行くだけだろ
I'm just going to visit her in
に
the
やらしい
hospital.
ことじゃねえよ
It's not like I'm doing anything bad.
ほんの数秒前と
That's the opposite of what you
言ってること
were
が
saying
違う
just
し
a few seconds ago.
そういえばタクって
Hey,
岸
Taku.
本と知り合いだったよな
You've talked to Kishimoto, right?
一緒
You
に
want to come with
ね
me? You know, one could say that maybe Nishimo, maybe Hayachi Mishima has good intentions, that maybe, you know, he has no intentions of trying to hit on Ayase, and he was just trying to he's like, hey, this guy is probably concerned about Ayase, but he's too, you know, nervous to go talk to people. Maybe if I say it this way, I can make him feel less nervous. Oh, that sounds like something Misumi would usually say. I was sure you're going to use to ask me, I suppose it's like power, so I was actually kind of surprised. He kept talking a while after that. Misumi would talk, and something Rimi would make smart comments. And I just kind of nod. It was the same as it had been before. And that made me happy. Okay. Okay, you're definitely that one guy. Okay, so you're not Sua. Maybe you're like Sua's dad? Genichi Noros. stood in front of the window of the CEO office on the top floor of a Nozomi group building and lit his cigarette. The Nozomi Group, a massive corporate group of ties to government and any number of smaller companies beneath it. Some of these child companies had been in fields like clothing, foodstuffs, and ports, and gone on to achieve remarkable success. Naros was the head of the group, and here he was in his castle, looking down on the scenery below him. But his mind was somewhere else instead of enjoying the view. There was a mocking smile on his lips, but his feet were tapping impatiently on the floor. Hump. It's tiring dealing with these old men. Don't you think? They're too cowardly, I guess. Maybe you could say that's what got them in position, but still. It's fine, take advantage though. But their constant interruptions are becoming a nuisance. And sadly, they influence the community through it is impossible to overstate. But soon, the system's going to collapse, the ruling structure of the world will be rebuilt. Are you looking forward to that? So am I. It's taken a long time to get here. It's already been 5 years since Project Noah began. Rose walked over to his desk. It was a heavy desk made of natural oak. Mahogany! Very little on top of it. A few things that were business related. There was, however, one object laying on the corner that was very different from the others. Rose picked up the strange green character and gave it a disinterested glance and tossed it in the wastebasket. Now then. His narrowed eyes returned toward the dimly lit room. The moonlight of the window didn't reach a far end, and there was a faint sense, however, someone was present there. I certainly didn't expect you to be a It appears that God himself is on my side. I'm going to take a sample from you too. Heh, there's no need to be afraid. I used to be a doctor, you see. I was always the type to put heavy emphasis on informed consent. You should know that the hardware for Noah 2 is already complete. All that's left is the software. And for that we need samples from you Maniacs. More specifically, we need code samples and a synapses action. Samples, the part that gives orders to the rest of the brain. Every person's code sample is different. Powerful Maniacs have more active innate synapses, which affect a wider area of the brain. A human brain used only to its full capacity. Maniacs, however, are the exception to this rule. We know from our research that they use the remaining 90% as well. The insides of a Maniac's head is a fascinating place. These samples will serve as what you might call Noah 2's CPU. The more samples we have, the more Noah 2's power will approximate that of a real Maniac, and someday it will surpass it. Does that satisfy you? Good. Naros nodded, satisfied, and let out a puff of syrup and returned toward the window. Seen up close, Shibuya was a vulgar, disgusting city. Looking at it only brought him displeasure, but high up here, he always found it a much more pleasant sight. Of course, it wouldn't be so long before he'd never see it again. After this group's Project New performed its last experiment, the world will be reborn soon. Lunchtime. I always skipped lunch. I hated eating by myself in the classroom. I didn't have anybody to eat with. Lately, Remy had tried inviting me to eat with her, but I was always too embarrassed to say yes. Whenever lunchtime came around, I would come to class and escape somewhere peaceful. Sometimes at the library, sometimes the courtyard. But ever since what happened to Overrun, the whole school knew my face. There was no place where I could relax. I could feel them staring at me. I could hear their laughter and insults. Like I did every other day, I walked around the whole school and found no escape from them. Anyway, just when I was thinking about hiding in the toilet, I saw Nanami walking away from down the hallway to the first year student's classroom. She was walking back to class alone, it looked like. I realized I hadn't talked to her once since the incident. I had been avoiding her for the past week. I mean, I'd have no idea to say when I met her. I was a terrible brother. I chose to save my life instead of saving hers. It was nothing more than a miracle that Nanami had been released. I had done nothing at all. Maybe Shogun had told Nanami that it was my fault that she'd been kidnapped. If so, she'd definitely be mad at me. She might hate me now and not want to speak to me at all. I didn't have the courage to go talk to her, but after I'd happened to see her, I started to get worried, even though I thought it was way too late. Had they done anything to her? Had they hurt her? Was she okay mentally? For a moment, the memories of that hand came back to me, but I shook my head. The severed hand, the bangle, the wrist, the phone. They were all a delusion, a very realistic delusion. I knew this for a fact because the hand disappeared from the fridge instead of assuming it disappeared, so we're naturally assumed that it had never been there in the first place. Especially since Nanami was alive and here at school, aiming with both hands. I started to run after her without realizing I was doing it. She was getting closer. Nanami hadn't noticed me yet as she walked. She played with her hair and lighted her hand. I went to call her out. As she played with her hair, her sleeve around her right hand fell back a little. I gulped back my words. Hello? I stopped. I had seen something. It was something small, almost unnoticeable, but something white. Something wrapped. Placed so that it wouldn't stand out. A bandage on her right wrist. Okay. Bon arrived at the Frezia 30 minutes after the time Mimose asked him to be there. Bon, you're late. Mimose yelled at him as soon as he arrived. Bon shrugged and gave her a half-hearted smile as he walked over to her desk. He hadn't brought her any sweets today, a decision he was beginning to regret. Oh, where's Sua? Off working on his own today. So, you're slacking off while the kid does all the work, huh? No, I'm working too, you know. I was up all night doing research, I'll have you know. I've learned a whole lot about the teenage girls up to these days. Sigh. I'm not even sure what to say to that. So, if I'm here, it means that you managed contact with the kid. They're here now. So, that's my Momo. Is she cute? Mose gave the grinning band a slap on the head. She put her wrist into it too. It hurt pretty bad. Grow up, you old pervert. It was a joke, okay? Bon started asking Mose for a favor. He wanted to talk to somebody involved in the Nishijo case directly and asked Realize to make it happen. His questions were whether Momo had not going to directly link to the police investigation. He could talk to her in an official capacity at least. He couldn't talk to her official without someone getting the rest of the team involved. Mose headed for the corner of the room. Bond followed her. There was a small space there, surrounded by shelves lined with files. This space served as a meeting room for talking with clients. There were 2 sofas, each room for 2 people, both for 2 big, cramped little area. Bond followed Mose inside. He saw a girl sitting there. She was wearing a Sume Academy uniform. Her shoulders were slumped and she was looking down. She looked exhausted. Sorry for keeping you waiting. Yua, okay. The girl looked up in surprise. Mose spoke. Her glasses slid down her nose, forcing her to push them back into place with her fingers. Oh no, I'm fine. She looked a little scared as she bowed shallowly to Bon. He was kind of hurt by this. Bon always tried his hardest, trying to come off as unthreatening. He realized, though, that he must still be giving off the intimidating air of a professional police officer, though. It's something he would have to keep working on, he realized. Yua, Kusunoki, correct? Yes. You're the twin sister of Mia, the deceased, is that right? Wait. Is your sister the person who had their hand cut off and fed to them? But I'm like, is my sister real? Is Nanami real? Has she been replaced with... Is it somebody else pretending to be Nanami now? Yua flinched a little before nodding. The first Nugent case was a group dive. One of the victims who jumped was... Oh, okay. Your sister was in the... That's why you were so obsessed with the thing to begin with. Okay. Come on now, calm down a little. I'm not here to interrogate you, we're just having a little chat. Before I get to that point, can I ask you something? What are your thoughts on your sister's death? I'm sad. The end. But you can't expect her to. It's an icebreaker, it's awkward, but it has to be done. Just part of my job. Tact is one of the first things you lose as a police officer. I'm just curious. The task force sat down at the station to talk about it too. Said Kusunoki's family was unusual. Fun. No, it's fine. Again, why do you keep yelling at me? It's my job to ask these questions. What, am I supposed to not talk about the thing that we're here to talk about? Mosi had almost leapt out of her chair at Bon's rude question, but Yua herself stopped her. Again, how is it a rude question? It's a question that has to be asked. It's, what, am I supposed to not have a conversation? The question literally has to be asked. There is no option here. There is no not asking the question. If I'm not going to ask the question, then what was the point of me even trying to talk to anyone? It is literally required for me to ask this question. I think it's strange myself. The 5 kids who died in the group died had absolutely no reason to commit suicide. Their family and friends all said the same thing. But Mia's family was the sole exception. Bond took his fan out belt and began to wave it in his face. They didn't say a thing, didn't make any kind of fuss. They were so quiet about it that it was strange, everyone said. Why do you think that was the case? Ever since Mia died, Mom and Dad have been weird. There was a pain in her voice. At first, on the day they heard Mia die, they cried. Mom and Dad looked like they were in a lot of pain. But the next morning, for some reason, they were happy and smiling. They were exactly back to how they were before Mia died. It only took a single day. I didn't understand. I thought that maybe the two of them were just trying to forget her. And then Dad was smiling, he said, I don't even have a sister, so their memories were wiped of it. When I showed them her clothes and shoes, it didn't faze them at all. They said they were all just extras they bought for me. And then they started turning off the news and ignoring the police. They were trying to forget that Mia ever existed. So they're going to pretend you weren't twins? And that's why they started chasing off the police and telling them that they only had one daughter. Mia and I were identical twins. We're impossible to tell apart. But my parents hated her. She would always hide away her own feelings and put me first. As Yua talked, she remembered her old life. For example, one year when she was in elementary school, her parents had bought a present, a single giant stuffed bear. Yua was excited, but Mia said she didn't like stuffed animals and ignored it. Her parents had disliked how Mia refused to act like a little child should. Since Yua had quietly offered to share the stuffed animal with her, but Mia had refused, I don't need a stuffed animal. You can have it, was all she said. A month or so later, when Yua had gotten tired of the stuffed animal, she'd woken late at night to see something surprising. Mia was holding the stuffed bear and talking. I don't know if it's music or just... It's very wholesome. Mia was holding the stuffed bear and talking to him with such a happy look on her face. And that's how children should be. Honestly, that's how everyone should be. Everyone should feel that emotion. I like stuffed animals, okay? Everyone's like, you're an adult. I know. Mia was holding the stuffed bear and talking to it, with such a happy look on her face. This is simultaneously happy and sad. But yeah. But yeah, I like stuffed animals too. I don't know what the proper word for this. I guess we'll use air quotes happy. But I wish this happy thing for everyone. Whether it's a stuffed animal or another human being actually caring about you, the main point is this. This is extremely wholesome. What can I say? I like happy, wholesome things. And I like stuffed animals, and I like people being happy. And just, I don't know. I don't know the right word for it. But the emotion that the person in the picture is having right now, I think it's precious. And it's something I value. Mia was holding the stuffed bear and talking to it, with such a happy look on her face. You had never seen her sister look so happy. It was only then that Yua realized her sister was lying about not wanting the bear. She'd been lying so that her sister could have it all to herself. The next day, Yua looked under Mia's pillow and found a cute picture of a bear she'd drawn. Mia had been sleeping with it in her arms until Yua got tired of the stuffed animal. Things like that had happened over and over again for the past 18 years. It was always Yua who blew out the candles on the birthday cake. Mia who would say, "That's stupid, I'm not going to do it," and her parents would get angry. Yua had made it into Sume Academy, a private school. But Mia deliberately behaved badly in class, lowering her grades to make sure she got sent to a public one. Her parents hadn't had the money to send them both to private schools. No matter what Yua tried to do for Mia, Mia would always put her sister first. Even if it meant I would make other people hate her. In the end, I took advantage of Mia's kindness and had all the fun while she suffered. Only after she was gone did I realize there was more I could have done for her, and I really regret it. I wish I could have died in her place. And then, not only that, our parents are trying to forget about her. It's not fair. It's just too sad. That was all talking she could do. She took off her glasses and put her hands over her eyes as she began to cry. Mose sat next to her, kindly patting her on the back. So Yua's been investigating the case on her own, she says, to find out what exactly happened to Mia. That must have been difficult. She's found a name. Mose looked over to Bon, still holding Yua close. Takumi Nishijo. I see. Bon stroked the stubble on his chin and leaned forward. I heard from one of the local detectives that there was a teenage girl who was running after Nishijo one day. Was that you? She nodded to him apologetically. Interesting, I'd like to hear. I was going to say I'd like to hear more, but give me a second. Bon chuckled and bobbed his head at Yua and Momose. He had been cut off by the sound of his phone ringing from his suit pocket. He quickly took it out and looked at the LCD screen. It was showing Sua's name. Hello, what is it? It's happened. The 7th murder? Okay, well at least I know I'm not involved. Who died? It happened. The 7th murder. What? Sua's voice was tense. Bon could hear the sound of the police officers frantically running around him. From the sound of it, Sua was at the station. The 7th Nugent case. Oh, I mean, what happened this time? Man was found... I don't know. I'm trying to think of a silly, nonsense way for somebody to die, but nothing's coming to mind. Man was found dead after eating Arby's. Bond's eyes went wide. Then he bit his lip bitterly. Mostly and Yua could tell a demeanor that something had happened. And then we're looking at him worried. 3 victims. All friends. All of them had their bodies torn in half. You can't be talking about the guys who fucking mugged me, right? Besides, they weren't torn in half. They were still breathing, right? I mean, they just... I didn't remark... we would have definitely noticed if they're... Well, we did mention that their faces looked really bruised, but I would have noticed if they were, like... You know... Trying to think of a word for bisected. Not dissected. Bisected. I'm just saying. They weren't cleaved in 2. You know, she hit him. She hit the 3 people in the face with, like, the flat part of a sword. So, yeah, maybe knocked them unconscious and broke their nose, but I would have noticed if they were cut in half. Unless, I mean, if she could read my mind, then can she make me not see the people being, you know, spaghetti? All of them had their bodies torn in half. Their top and bottom halves were switched with one... oh, they were stitched. Their top and bottom halves were switched with one another and sewn together with monofilament fishing wire, basically. There are injuries to their faces that looked like the letters DQN. Okay, it probably still is the 3 guys. It's just... So the 3 guys that jumped me. Kozue just hit them in the face with her, like, snowboard. And then after that, Shogun, who originally paid them to mug him, took back his money and then cut them in half. And then sewed them back together as the wrong people. And then also, like, I don't know, took brass knuckles and punched letters into them. Like they're the English press. Yes, I'm trying to make a joke about the printing press for the fucking 1400s. Some kind of message. It's too early to say. Something else, too. The autopsy found something. The bodies weren't cut in half with a saw or a knife, or anything with a blade. What do you mean? This body said they were ripped apart by some kind of incredible force. What, like hydraulic press? But in reverse? Ripped apart? Bond repeated this to himself as he scratched his head roughly within the hilt of the fan. Like by some kind of giant monster, or maybe one of those mages that everyone seems to talk about these days? Mages? Are you serious? Wait, is that a reference to the people that made the game? I'm a big movie buff, but even I can't get behind you on that one. It's called an example, you idiots. Now, get back to work. He hung up the phone. But those had to be the 3 guys that jumped me. So they were executed after... At least we didn't kill them. The sun started setting earlier once November came. By the time I was ready to go home with Remy after class, a pale orange color was setting over the sky. I'm sorry. Remy had been silent until then, but suddenly she apologized. You had a really rough time, right, Taku? It was the first time in a while we got home together. I was so happy she'd come back. She offered to go home with me today again, for one thing. We'd only gone home together twice now, so I was afraid she might want to stop. But that didn't happen. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you. Somebody I knew got hurt in that earthquake. Here's the thing. And the versions where I got pushed off the fucking building Were you the one who pushed me?
ずっと面倒見てたから。
I was taking care of them. Which means you were up there on the skyscraper when that was happening. Remy brought up the subject even though I hadn't asked. Okay. But to be honest, I wasn't even hearing most of what she was saying. That bandage I'd seen on Nanami's wrist at lunch, I couldn't get it out of my mind. It means Nanami's probably not
もし
real.
かして怒ってる？
Are you mad? I'd missed my chance to talk to her then. Well, no, I'd gotten scared. Nanami was my little sister. I was her big brother. Is she my little sister? I mean, she's not real. Or she's been substituted by somebody else. But something felt so strange. The nurse had said Nanami wasn't hurt. The hand that Shogun had sent me had disappeared from the fridge in the base. It was all supposed to be a delusion. So why would she have a bandage around her right hand? Maybe I was just overthinking things, and she got burnt and had a nasty bug bite. That had to be it. Right? That was the most sensible answer, right? But I was still afraid of finding out. I hadn't been able to help her, but here I was, too gloomy to even talk to her. I was really awful, big brother.
ねえ、タク。
Hey,
お
Taku?
い。
Hello?
もしもし。
Hello?
怒ってるならそう言ってよ。
If you're mad,
無視されるのって
then say
結
so.
構傷ついちゃうな。
Being ignored kind of hurts. Huh? I looked at Remy. She was so sad. Oh, huh?
もしかして
Were you
私の話
not
聞いてな
listening
か
to
っ
me?
た？
I hesitated a moment before nodding. She poked a finger to my cheek and
石
pushed.
てっきり無視されたかと思ったよ。
Thought you were ignoring me.
紛らわしいことしない。
Don't confuse me like that. Ow, her nail. Her nail was digging into my skin.
あ、大丈夫？
You okay? Remy whispered. Finally broke her head. Yeah, that was always what she said when she was
お
worried about me.
昼ぐらいから顔色良くない
You've
よ。
been kind of pale since lunchtime.
元
You 誰
気も
seem
ない
kind
み
of
たい
down
だし
today. 誰
もしかして
Was
誰かにひどいこと言われた？
was somebody mean to you?
だったら私に教えて。
If so, tell me.
怒ってきてあ
I'll
げ
go
るか
get
ら。
mad at them.
もしかして誰かにひどいこと言われた？
Was somebody mean to you? If so, tell me. I'll go get mad at them. She was like a big sister or my mom. Remy could be pretty nosy. Well, she'd have to be, or if she could care about a weird loser like me. I appreciated the fact that she was worried about me, even though the player, Lunar, knows about stuff that you don't. Until now. Whenever I had a problem, my only options were to keep it to myself or write an anonymous post in that chat. Maybe I should ask her about Nanami, but when I asked her about the D-sword, she hadn't believed me at all. She reacted just like any sensible person would. If I told her, she'd either laugh it off or be freaked out. If that was the case, it'd be a waste of time to try. All I needed from Remy was to be by my side. I could ask Kozupi or Senna for help with the problem instead. And here's the thing. The fact that Kozupi didn't say anything to me
相変わら
about
ず汚いね。
the way this person is, it either tells me she doesn't think I would believe her, or she can't read Remy's mind. Or Remy's able to, control what's read. This place is filthy other, huh? Huh? Remy whispered in exasperation and stepped inside the base. But despite her complaints, she seemed happy, so I couldn't tell her what she
変わ
really
ってない
think.
な。この部屋の
This
汚
place
さ
hasn't
が
changed at all.
まさにタ
You're
コ
the
っ
one
て
I
感
know
じ。
who keeps their room this messy. If it's that bad, then you clean it. I sighed and turned on the computer.
ちょっとちょっと。
Hey, Are you
帰って
turning on your
くる
computer the
パソコン
minute you walk in your
友
door?
達が来てるんだか
You've
ら
got a friend over.
少しはおもてなしして
Why
あげ
don't
よ
you
う
offer
ってい
something
う
to
気持
drink
ち
or
には
something?
ならないの。ねえ、お
Come
話ししようよ。
Come on, let's chat. Remy asked me for the impossible as she sat down on my sofa. If I tried to have a one-on-one chat with 3D Girl, I'd run out of things to say or discuss almost instantly. Lately, I had more chance to talk to Remy and started to get used to talking to her, but I still wouldn't even last 5 minutes. And right now, my head was full of thoughts about Nanami, and I didn't even feel like I had a cheerful conversation. I'm sure it would look like I was ignoring her. I sat down in my chair, feeling a pathetic loser.
おーっと、
Hey,
ここまで行ったのに何
you're
を
still gonna
無視し
ignore
ま
me,
す
huh?
か？
I could hear Remy standing up. She walked over me and grabbed the toy D-sword off the table. Ignoring my confusion, she raised it above her head.
そんなタクにはこ
I'll show you then. And then she brought down the sword. Hey. Of course, she was just joking instead of being serious, but the tip of the sword was stabbing into my back.
う。え？
Yeah? Oh yeah? Are you practicing for when you really kill me? She began to whack me on the head with it. And when I tried to brush it away, she skillfully dodged
ね
my
えね
hand.
えもっと楽しいことしようよ
Come on, let's do something more fun.
じゃないと本気で切っちゃうぞ
Or I'll slice you in half.
楽しいことって
Fun. Remy was bringing down the sword to chop my head off. And she paused mid strike and thought,
じゃ
I
あ
don't
ゲー
know.
ムとか
A
ほら
video game?
タクは得意でしょ
You're good at those, right?
対戦ゲームしようよ
Let's play a fighting
私
game.
そういうのやった
I've
こと
never
ない
played
から
one, so
いろい
you
ろ
can
教
show
えて
me
ほ
how.
しいな
Unfortunately, the games I had were H games and ESO. Neither of them had two-player mode.
無理だよ
I can't.
ソフトがなくて
I don't have any. I grabbed the sword by the blade and pushed it away. Remy pouted, upset, and put the sword back where
だ
it
っ
had
てせっかく久しぶりに
been.
会
Been
え
so
た
long
の
since
に
we've seen each other. I wanted to do something fun. I appreciate the sentiment, but right now I just didn't feel like having fun with Remy.
メールだよ
You've got mail, dork.
今
Wow,
の何
what was that?
あいや
No, Remy just heard Saratan's voice email. That was really embarrassing. I opened my email program and saw 3 messages from Grim telling me to get my ass in the chat room. I realized that I hadn't chatted with Grim in a while. We used to talk about the whole time. But since I'd been staying off ESO, we hadn't talked about it in 10 days. Hey. What? Why is your thing not showing Grim? We got new nice guy. We got what? Dude, new gen. Too lazy to find AA. New gen. It shouldn't be that hard to figure out, right? See here, the 7th
どうした
murder.
の
Remy must have noticed my surprise because she stood up and came over next to me. She appeared at the monitor from over my shoulder.
第7の事
The
件
7th murder. Another one, another new gen murder. How long was this going to keep happening? Would the next one be one where they finally got me, or the one after that?
タク
Taku,
気にすることないよ
you don't need to worry about it.
何も怖いことなんてない
There's nothing to be afraid of.
タクは狙われたりなんかしない
They're not after you, Taku. I haven't had the chance to tell you about the severed hand thing.
全部
Everything you're feeling is just a paranoid delusion, okay? Everyone keeps trying to redefine common sense. Everything you're feeling is just a paranoid delusion, okay?
全部タクの被害妄想ね全部タクの被害妄想
Were you watching me when I was with Senna and Kozapi? Were you able to read our minds? Actually, there was that one conversation I thought you were reading my mind. You're able to read my mind. And you're able to read the mind reader's mind. And the mind reader can't read your mind. And you can feed fake fake thoughts into the mind of the mind reader. Does that mean the mind reader can kind of tell something's weird, but not quite? It's like you're the uncanny valley of telepathy. She was trying to cheer me up, but she had no evidence at all. That's not going to make me feel better, Remy. Anyway, had Grimm gotten a job at the New Gen advertising division or something? He was constantly telling me about them whenever one happened. Also, here's another thing. Creator of video game. What was the point of showing the real-world player the conversation between Remy and Shogun? I mean, obviously we saw some internal emotional conflict struggle on Remy's part, to where she seemed sad about the idea of having to kill me. And also seemed like she feels that it's necessary to kill me because she saw how fucking big my fucking 2-story sword is. And since I know I have a sword that's like bigger than a building, and it's like, okay, this Zombacto can probably destroy the fucking planet. It's like, oh, what's your Bankai? I launch nukes. Like, wait, what? Imagine how, like, Kenpachi would react to that. Like, it's like, what's your Zanbakuto? My Zanbakuto becomes a bunch of little flower petals that go around and cut people. What's your Zanbakuto? I reverse people's directions. What's your Zanbakuto? I make your tea lukewarm. What's your Zanbakuto? Boobs. What's your Zanbakuto? I'm really strong. What's your Zanbakuto? I can move fast. What's your Zanbakuto? You know, I started this off with some sort of joke about some sort of... Alright, the nukes. It's like, what's your Zanbakuto? Nuclear fission. It's like, wait, what? It's like, what's your Zanbakuto? I control gravity. What's your Zanbakuto? I summon Goku. Once again, he posted a bunch of links to news sites. This must have been his way of telling me to look at them. I clicked the link and bit down hard on my lip. Case DQN puzzle. Okay, they at least put it in order. 7 new gen DQN puzzle. 4:50 a.m. 3 men were found hanging from transmission tower. Okay, somebody had to use like a cherry picker or a fucking ladder for that. That's high in the air. So you're telling me someone, Shogun, after Kozue beat the people up, they then killed them, sawed them in half, sewed them back together wrong. Sewn back together wrong. Sewn back together wrong. Yes, it's a fucking Metalocalypse Death Clock song. Everyone's like, no one remembers that show. I'm like, it was a good show. I liked it. It's like, you also like Batman vs. Superman the movie. I thought it was a good movie. Everyone's like, well, the story, the comic was like, no, it was a good fight scene. The story actually made sense. It's like, what about the whole ending scene? Like, that made perfect sense. Everyone's like, that's such a stupid plot point. It's a realistic one. It humanizes the characters. And it's the fact that at the end of the day, the points, and it's like, well, it doesn't make sense for Batman to do that. Oh, what? Humans are supposed to make sense? Oh. Bodies belong to 3 Shibuya college students. Anzawa, part-time worker named Ryo Takumi, and Kohei Fajitas. It's Fujita, you hungry son of a bitch. I'm sorry I'm hungry. See, I want to get fajitas. Like, that's not how you pronounce his name. It's Fujita. Here's a question. You know, like, British people put butter on the inside of their sandwiches? What if when I make fajitas, I put butter on the inside of my, the flatbread? Does that make you British? Does that make you British if you put butter inside your fajitas? On, like, the bread part? Not, like, a lump of butter inside the toppings. I mean, if you, you take the bread and before you put all the filling into the fajita, you put butter on the bread part of the fajita? No? Okay. Everyone's like, what? It's like, why does all your cooking involve butter? You fucking fat ass. And I'm like, I'll have a 6-pack one day, okay? Says the person who keeps overexerting themselves at the gym and injuring themselves and having to take a few days to recover. Says the person who tries to fast and then winds up becoming too low energy and then has to overeat to not only recover energy but also so you have the adequate protein necessary to recover from injuries. Why can't you just do the One Punch Man thing normally? It's like, nope. Okay. Police investigation. Bodies 3 have been severed into ways. Cut did not appear to be made by a blade. Has attached different bodies, sewn together with string thread. DQ and pound their foreheads. Police believe may be a message from the killer. Police crime scene. Avalanche hand. Internet message. Media reports. Called the 7th New Gen DQ. Due to the bodies of the victim were used to refer DQN as a word you refer to use as a thug or a person who lacks common sense. Wasn't there a joke about that in like the Boondocks, the cartoon, a lot? Like they made jokes about like rappers and stuff. I don't know. Am I remembering that show wrong? It was a very high energy show. You know what else that reminds me of? Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It's like everyone's like, are you comparing Aqua Teen Hunger Force and the Boondocks? I'm like, they're the same show, aren't they? Okay, where were we? Members. Families are preparing to take legal actions. Certain inappropriate comments at users. Reaction online has been mixed. What, you're gonna sue people for free speech? Like, oh no, we're having opinions. What happens when all the different opinions that anyone can have? It's like, oh, what's your opinion? Well, I disagree with the government. Okay. New gen. DQN. Oh, this isn't new gen. The cops are idiots. Trying to say DQN hating at-channers. You trying to say we DQN hating at-channers are behind it? The way the ripped body parts put together is kind of like a puzzle. Wish they replaced my top out with that of a hive. I don't think that's how human biology works. Get that fake psychic Nishijo, tell you who's behind it. Why do I want to like superimpose an image of fucking Obi-Wan from Star Wars Episode 4? Like, do I know him? It's me! It's like, yes. Memes. The new generation madness, I can't bear it. Was that supposed to be a pun? DQN puzzle. At approximately 4 p.m., police found their bodies. Utility power. Okay, how would no one even notice you putting them up there? Like, wouldn't that require like a lot of heavy machinery? Police investigation. Ruler bodies belong to distribution. College student. Rio Kohei was employed. All three had their bodies severed torso, top body house. Stitched with another, murdered, stuffed, blah blah blah, strange distinctive injuries. Found on their foreheads, which police believe may be a message. Killer. Shibuya suffered a number of bizarre murders over the 2 past months. Authorities treating as another one of the series of accident incidents. Okay. The last video I saw showed the face of 3 murdered men. I recognize their faces. It's them. You know them? They mugged me yesterday. I gave them my wallet, but they still attacked me anyway. I passed out, and when I woke up, Kazubi was there. 3 of them were covered in blood. I took my wallet out of my pocket and stared at it. When I woke up, Kazubi was holding my wallet, and she'd given it back to me. Could she be the one who... No, no, that wasn't right. When I had seen them last, their faces were smashed up, and they were covered in blood, but they certainly weren't sliced in half. They had been killed after Kazubi and I had left. It had been Shogun. He was taunting me. I mean, he did pay them. I mean, they did literally say the Darth Spider guy paid us to mug this guy. He must really hate him. He was trying to destroy my mind. I felt like I was about to throw up. My stomach was racked in pain. I put my hands up against it hard to try to make it go away. Would I be next? Would the next one finally be one where I was killed? That's all for today. A hand reached out from behind me and flicked the switch on the monitor. The screen went black. Calm down. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for the... And that's the thing. I was starting to talk about it, but like, here's the thing. What was the purpose? Dear developer of video game, what was the purpose of showing me the player, the scene where she is talking to Shogun? Was it to make me feel more paranoid or some shit? Because I'll say this, yes. More than likely, without that, I'd be just harping on the positive aspects of, okay, she's doing a sensible thing. Her friend is freaking out at a thing and becoming too emotional. So you're just turn the screen off so the person can have some time to calm down and distance themselves from the emotionally upsetting thing. But the fact that I know that there's more going on, more than Nishijo, makes me like I am completely distrustful of her. Because even though she did show emotional, internal conflict at the idea of having to kill me. 1, she's working with Shogun. 2, she's willing to kill me. And 3, she even suggested it and thinks that I need to die. Calm down. You don't need to worry about it. It's just a coincidence, I'm sure of it. How could Remy be so calm? There was no way this could all just be... I mean, they literally did say that, unless I was passed out during the time they said that. Anyway, I'm hungry. There's a place I like. Why don't we go get dinner there? That's actually a nice suggestion. It's nice and cheap, and the food is good too. I guarantee it. Though, it's mostly older guys in there. It's a little embarrassing for me to go myself. Oh, and we'd have to go inside the station. It's inside the station building. There's one on the clockwise side of the Yamanote line, and one on the counterclockwise side, but I think the one on the counterclockwise side is way better. Is this like a fucking Lewis Black moment? You built a Starbucks across from a Starbucks! It's like, you are now the power of your sword. And I just pull Lewis Black out of the fucking Netherverse. Like, my power is, like, what's your Bankai? Lewis Black. Why am I imagining Lewis Black fighting Yujiro and winning? And Yujiro's like, I've never met someone this strong before. I don't know. Dinner, huh? I didn't feel like eating at all. It felt like there was a knife at my throat. Like somebody was saying they could kill me at any time. Please, just leave me alone. What did I ever do to you? I'm just so tired of all this. Hello? Oh, right. I saw the sword. Is there a point leaning your sword against the wall if it doesn't actually exist? Why don't you just imagine it floating? Ayase Kishimoto was staring at the window, only half paying attention to anything going on around her. There were no bars on the windows, like the rooms Arc Medical, place she'd been before. Outside, she could see the high-rise buildings of Shinjuku, and beyond them a blazing evening sky. A few pigeons were flapping their wings furiously as they crossed the sky. Occasionally she would wince in pain. Her eyes were empty and just a little tired. Her lips weren't humming the songs that had entranced the young people of Shibuya. After a failed suicide attempt, she'd been brought to a big general hospital in Yoyagi. Her wounds had almost completely healed. The doctors had said it was a miracle that the fall from that height had only a few minor scrapes and bruises. Still, she had hit her head hard, and so she'd been hospitalized for observation. Yeah, probably had a concussion. Shouldn't she been over a week? Of course, observation meant nothing more than a simple checkup. Every once in a few days, the rest of the time she was left alone. She had the room to herself. Why not? Did we at least get a Super Nintendo? There were no other beds in it. Her D-sword was up against the window. It was flashing with a pale light. It had been the whole time, but nobody had noticed it. She didn't get many visitors. Phantasm's fans were supposedly coming in huge numbers every day, but the hospital banned them from seeing her, so they wouldn't bother other patients. She and her family weren't close. Nobody else came to see her. Her bandmates had come to see her once. She'd brought up breaking the ban, though they'd stopped coming at all. Kishimoto, did your thermometer go beep? The door opened and a nurse in white came in. Ayase slowly turned toward her, and then took the thermometer out from under her arm, like she just remembered it was there. The nurse looked at the number on the digital display and wrote it down on the chart. 37.1 degrees Celsius. You got a mild fever, maybe. My head hurts. Ayase went in pain again. Oh my, another headache. It's a side effect of the medicine. It'll eventually go away. The nurse smiled as she spoke. And took the thermometer. Her expression was gentle, and there was something about her that put the patient at ease. But Ayase put her hand to her forehead and shook her head. Ever since she came here, Ayase had been dealing with a dull headache. Painful wasn't the word for it. But there was an unpleasant sensation of something pulsing her head. It was making it hard for her to think, and her whole body was felt as heavy as lead. This had happened to Ayase before, too. It was when she was at the Arc Heart Medical. The headaches there last 24 hours a day. She had been unable to sleep and emotionally unstable. It was part she didn't remember. At past, she'd sealed away her memories of 2 years ago. The pain was a trigger that made them come back in flashes. Well, that doesn't look like a very nice place to live. A dark room, a small window with bars. Except for the small window, the walls were entirely covered with mirrors. She'd been restrained in a steel chair in the center of the room. There was some kind of device on her head, with cords streaming off of it. Her hands were bound behind her chair's back. Her head was restrained and tilted up, looking up at a slight angle. There was no one else in the room. The only sounds were her panting for air, and the straining of the metal chair. Drool flew from her lips, and a bestial howl came from her throat that one would have thought impossible for a girl her age. Kill me! Kill me a bit louder. It was a very quiet form of torture. There was only one thing they were doing to her. A single drop of water was falling on her forehead from above in the same spot every time, in exact 5-second intervals. That was all. She'd been stuck like that for 2 days with no rest. And now all she could think of when the next drop would fall. Her senses were pushed to their limit. Everyone's like, that's not a big deal. That would be a big fucking deal. Okay, that is not to be taken lightly. Everyone's like, it's just water, it's not doing anything. That is a big fucking deal, okay? All of this is a big deal. This would be enough to make somebody really, really pissed. Or have a psychotic break. I think you're underestimating how fucked up this is. Each time a drop fell, it felt like every nerve in her body was being ripped apart. Like all the bones in her body were being shattered. Like a long, sharp awl was being driven into her skull. Like all the fluids in her body, blood included, were freezing. Like all of her skin was rotting and slogging off. It was more than enough to drive her mad. Understandable. That's a fucked up memory. We'll just put in subtitles. Quiet, emotional breakdown sounds. She snapped back to reality and found herself panting and clutching her sheets tightly. Her whole body had started to shake when her dark memories came back. Okay, so that doesn't mean like the doctor's, like the Hazuki's in on it. Is Hazuki grim? Is Hazuki grim? Is she working with the bad guys? Is she lying to me? Was she the one really manipulating Sua? The nurse had gone from her room. It was dinner time, and there was a frantic rush of movement outside the door. Inside reality, panting and clutching the sheets tightly, her whole body had started to shake when her dark memories came back. Ayase repeated the words that the nurse had said to herself. Was this headache really caused by medicine, or had she hit her head when she had fallen, or was it an effect of old memories? She couldn't tell. Heh. Ayase wiped around the sweat from her forehead and began to laugh. Here's the thing. In Nishijo's place, should I have visited her? Should I? Would that have been the right thing to do? They probably wouldn't even let me see her if I did try to visit her. I don't care. I don't care what you do to me now. I survived divine punishment. I know exactly what I have to do. She whispered as if in a trance, and suddenly she heard a sound come from the hallway. It was a pleasant sound of shoes on linoleum. They weren't the nurse's shoes, she could tell that much. They were footsteps getting closer to her room. There was a knock at the door. She pressed her lips together tightly in a frown. Is that Mishimo? Hello there. Nope, it's Sua. It was a man who was holding a fruit basket, the type commonly given as gifts. Why are you frumpy? Ayase recognized him. Oh, you do? Thus she looked at him. Oh, he's... Okay. Looked suspiciously. Hey there. Oh, don't worry. I'm not here to hurt you. I know. He was a detective at Tokyo Metropolitan Police. He'd one tailing her as a person of interest in the New Gen case. He scratched his head carefully. For a detective, he seemed surprisingly laid back. That makes me happy to have a pretty girl like you remember me, I mean. Flattery will only get you so far, man. You've got a good memory for someone to hit their head. Detective walked toward her bed. Ayase glanced at the D-sword on the windowsill. It was too far away for her to reach and grab. I was thinking you might want some company. So I brought you this fruit basket.
そうは思えないわ。
I don't think that's true.
目的は
What do you want?
鋭いっすね。
You were pretty sharp, huh? The detective acted like he was shaking. I mean, technically he didn't lie. He's like, hey, I felt you need company. I also wanted to talk to you about things. So I felt they went together. But it felt a little like an act.
まあちょっと
Well,
綾瀬ちゃんに
I
聞き
guess
たい
there's
ことがあって
something I want to ask you.
あ、これ。
Oh,
よ
here.
かったら
This is
食
for
べて
you.
ほしいっす。
He offered the fruit basket with an instant smile, practically forcing her to take it by placing it at the front of the bed.
うまいっすよ。
It's really good fruit. Also, it was really expensive. You didn't poison it, did you?
いらない
You should be fine. You get paid a lot as a cop, right? No thanks.
まあそう言わず
Come on, don't say
買
that.
ってきたんで
I already spent the money on it.
後でお母さんが来た時
When
に
your
でも
mom comes later, you can
来てもらって
share it with her or something.
あ
Oh,
しまっ
whoops. You haven't seen your parents
た
for
綾
years,
瀬ちゃ
have
ん
you?
はもう何年も両親
It was
に
clear the detective knew exactly what he's doing, but Ayase didn't really care. Her parents had disowned her when she was very little. Well, that's not very nice. And they were the type that really care about what their neighbors thought of. I know those kinds of people. They were the type to really care what the neighbors thought of them. And Ayase was a problem child they were eager to be rid of. She wasn't entirely cut off from them, though. They sent her enough money to cover living expenses every
申
month.
し訳ないっす。
Sorry. He gave her a little bob of his head in apology. Ayase was now starting to recover from her flashback earlier and didn't really want to talk to the detective at all. She decided to get this over with as fast as
聞
possible.
きたいことって
What did you want to ask me about?
アリバイ
My alibi?
違うっすよ。
Nah, we already talked to you about that enough.
もう綾瀬ちゃんの
You're
容疑は晴れ
not
た。
under suspicion anymore.
君は白
You're innocent.
真っ白。
Completely innocent.
目星はついたの
Do you have a suspect then?
犯人の
For the murders.
それは教えられな
I
いっ
can't
すよ
tell you that. Classified information, you see.
たくみ
Well, if you want me to give you information, Takumi.
秘密っす。
It's a secret. Detective was grinning. He was clearly hiding something. When he laughed, you could really see how young he was.
しかし西
Nishijo's
は
certainly a
不思議な
strange
少
boy,
年っす
though.
ね。彼を見ていると
He certainly
不思議な容
doesn't
疑者に
look
は
like a
とても見えない
murderer, you know.
もしあれで
If he
本当に犯
really
人だったと
is
し
the
たら
killer,
まさに人の皮を
then he's a
かぶった
demon
悪
wearing
魔っす
human skin.
まだ容疑者なの
He's still a suspect, isn't he?
いやそういうわけじゃ
No.
ないっすよ。
That's actually not true. Detective laughed and shook his head.
あ今の話
Oh,
そ
don't
れに
tell
言っちゃダ
anyone.
メっす
I
から
said
ね
that.
情報漏洩
My
すると
bosses get
上
bad
司に怒
by
られ
leak
るんですよ。
information. I mean,
まあ当然なん
of
ですけど
course they do.
この前も先輩
My
に
partner
小
screwed
バ
up
チ
just the
怒ら
other
れたばっ
day,
かで
and I got yelled at for it.
綾瀬ちゃんも一度会ってる
I
と思うん
think
ですけ
you've
ど
met him,
覚えてる
Ayase.
かな
Do you remember?
バンさんっていう
His name's Bon.
髪がボサボ
Older
サで
guy,
武将
messy
髭
hair,
生やしたおっさんで
stubble beard. Ayase remembered him. When they'd come to talk to her, it was the older man, not the one in front of her who had done most of the speaking. He'd been pretty aggressive and sneaky
あ
too.
の人がすぐ
He's always yells at me for, you know, calls me an idiot.
そのくせ自分は
But
本来の捜査を
what
せ
does
ず
he
に
do? He
なんだ
ignores his
わけ
job
の
and
わから
goes
ないこ
off
とばっか
to
調
look
べて
into weird stuff.
挙句の果てに
And
自
then
分まで
he
無理やり
forces me
付
to
き合わ
come
されて
with him.
最近
Lately, I've been getting the worst stomach aches.
いやまあ
I mean, he's a good guy at heart, and he's really
過
smart,
去
supposedly.
にも何事件を
He's solved a bunch of really tough cases. But you
そ
know,
の話をするため
is that why you came
こ
here?
こに来たの
To complain about your partner? Detective chuckled when Ayase cut him off.
いや
Oh, sorry. I lost
つい
control of
愚痴入っ
myself.
ちゃったっすね
For a moment,
今の話は
please,
全面的に内緒に
don't
して
tell
ほしいっす
anybody what I said.
それは
I,
守る一生のお願いっす
Sua,
よ
am begging
そ
you.
れで
So,
一つ目は
first question.
なんであんなことを
Why did you do it? Even Ayase could tell he was talking about how she'd jump off the roof.
もう何度も話したわ
I've already told this story to the other detectives many
邪
times.
神王
To
グラ
stop
ディオールの
Gladio,
復
the
活を
king of the
阻止
Wicked
する
Hearts,
ため
from reviving. Was that it?
死ぬつもりなんてなか
It
っ
wasn't a suicide
た
attempt.
魂を
I was
一
trying
つ上のステー
to
ジ
bring
に持
my
ってい
soul
こうと
to
し
a
た
higher
だけ
plane. That's all.
例の若者の間
You
で
were
話題
saying
になった
something similar
君の
about
歌につい
that
て
song
も
of yours, the
似たよう
one
な
the
こと言っ
kids
て
were
たっすよ
listening
ね
to. That was the second question. Ayase sighed a little.
ニュージェネのことを歌ったもの
That
なんか
song's
じゃない
not
わ
about New Gen.
グラジオール記黙示録詩編の
It was inspired by the apocalyptic psalms of the book of Gladio, chapter 3, verse 102.
世界
Gladio, the
邪
king of the
神は
wicked
グラ
hearts,
ジオールが現れ
is about to descend upon our world.
復活を阻止する
Seven stakes
グラジオールが流
forged
した
from the
クラ
black
ーチン
blood
を
he
作
shed
った
are needed
7つの杭
to
に
stop his revival. The stakes are the D swords.
杭は剣へと
The stakes will
形を
become swords
神罰を
passed
乗り
into the
越え
hands
て
of
真の
seven
黒
black
き日の手
knights
に渡る
who overcome the divine punishment of God.
目には目を
An eye for an
歯
eye,
には歯
a tooth for a tooth.
邪神を背負いし
Only
人間
humans who
的に
bear wicked hearts
邪
of
神
their
を
own can
滅ぼせる
defeat the king of wicked hearts.
なんか
It's kind
映画
of
みたいっすね。
like a movie, huh?
そういう壮大
I
な
love
設
it
定
when
は
they
好き
got
っす
cool
ね。
backstory like that. Ayasi's eyes narrowed at the detective's comment. Like, are you patronizing me, man?
設定
It's not a story at all.
現実よ
It's real.
じゃあ最後の質問。
Okay, last question. The detective ignored her protests, but she used to that. Nobody had ever believed what she had to say.
君や西条君の
We investigated a
数
bunch
名の
of
生徒に
Sume
ついて何
students,
人か洗ったんすよね。
besides you and Nishijo.
うーん
He crossed his arms and let out a little sigh. It felt like an obvious act, but Ayase wasn't inclined to call him out.
何
What?
その
This
す
is
ごくバカバカしい質
a
問なん
really
ですけど
stupid question.
刑事が質問
And I
するよ
know
うな
it's
こ
not
と
the
じゃない
kind
んで
of
すよ
thing
ね。
a cop's supposed to ask.
子供じみてるっていうか
It's kind of childish. I see.
質問する気がないなら
If you're not going to ask the question, then leave.
頭が
My head
痛い
hurts.
ああいや実はね
Oh, actually,
バンさんが妙な
Bon
ことを言い
was
出してるん
saying
ですよ
something weird.
君たちは魔法
That
使
you
いなんじ
guys
ゃないかって
Might be mages. Ayase's eyes narrowed just a little at the phrase, you guys.
違いますよね
That's not true, is it?
使えるわ
It's true. She looked down at her hands instead of the detective as she spoke.
綾瀬ちゃんって面白い子っすね
You're a fascinating girl, Ayase. But
ニュージェネは
New Gen has nothing to do with us. Gladio.
ああそうっすか
I, see.
まあどうでもいいんすけどね
Well, whatever. The detective yawned, disinterest in his words. Is that your ringtone? Are you fucking kidding me? I can tell what that fucking music is. It's a fuck. Everyone's like, what do you mean? Darth Spider. It's the fucking Spider-Man theme song from the 90s, spliced together with the fucking Imperial March from Star Wars. That's what we're hearing. Sua's ringtone, it's... But yeah, that is the Spider-Man theme song from the old 90s cartoon. And the Imperial March from, the original Star Wars movies. Crap. You're not supposed to use your phone in a hospital. I forgot to turn it off. And it's from a girl, too. I've got a girl in love with me. I'm in love with. We've been dating for 4 years. Oh, wow! Good for you, man. He grinned as he pressed the button to read the call. He turned back toward Yase.
綾瀬ちゃんは映画見るっすか？
You a movie buff, Yase?
スパークウォーズって
You ever heard of the Spark Wars?
それに出てくる
That was Count Darth Spider's theme. He's a character from the movie. And you guys didn't just do a bullshit theme either. You actually combined the actual Spider-Man theme and the actual Darth Vader theme. Honestly, that takes a lot of skill. Good for you. I mean, honestly, I like the rest of the music in your game a lot better. The emotion, like the good, the happy and the suspenseful, scary stuff. It's really done well. Even right now, the little bit of ambient music sounds we have too. The sound effects in the game are great. Everything in the game is awesome. But the fact that you mixed the theme songs, that was good. But I'm just saying, whoever's in charge of the music for this game really knows what the fuck they're doing, and they're very good at it. She wasn't interested in movies at all. Ayase had already decided that she was under no obligation to answer more of the questions. Silently turned to look out the window.
実は自分スパークウォーズ
I'm a
オ
huge
タク
Spark
なんです
Wars
よ
geek, you know?
あ、興味ないっすか？
Oh, you don't care. Sorry then.
じゃ、自分は
Anyway, have a nice night. Detective left the room without waiting for an answer. Ayase didn't bother to watch him as he went. Her eyes were watching the skies that shifted from twilight to the azure night. Okay.
このボケナスずっと待ってたんだからね
You dork. I was waiting so long for you. Is my imaginary support waifu upset at me for making her wait because I went on a real world date with somebody who's working with a serial killer who's probably going to kill me because I have a 20-foot long Zanpak toe, and Kenpachi's like, when are we going to fight? When are we going to fight? And I'm like, dude, why is Ultra Ego Vegito next to you?
あなたのことなんか大嫌いでも
I hate you, but I love you. I absentmindedly watched the Seratin move around my monitor. The final episode of Blood Tune had aired late last night. The story had really picked up by the end, and Matt Chan had reviewed it highly. This was my third time watching it, but I wasn't able to focus on it at all. I looked at the clock, and it was 10 o'clock p.m. Remy had left around 8. She'd cheered me up by giving me kind words of encouragement, made me feel less lonely than I had been for the past week. But Remy didn't seem to think things were as serious as they really were. It was as if she was trying to avoid to talk about Nugent. Maybe she thought I was annoying. She said somebody she knew had been hurt during the earthquake. She was busy dealing with that and didn't have time for me. No, but maybe I was paranoid, sure, but I was still in danger. I could be killed at any moment. Even right now. There had to be some reason why Shogun was so obsessed with me. If I could figure it out, maybe it would give me some clue as to how to fight back.
そういえば
Actually,
別れ際
he
に
had said
こんなこと
something
言って
else
たのら
just before I left.
中でも一番特
But the
別
most
なの
special
は
of you all
その目誰の目
is the boy who
と
created
見
the
落とした
phrase,
少年
whose eyes are those? Whose eyes are those? You couldn't go anywhere in Shibuya without hearing those words now, and online everybody had even started using it as a killer's name. I've been using that phrase since I was a little kid. Shogun must have known that, and this was his way of sending me a message, or maybe challenging me. When did I start using that phrase? It felt like somebody had said it to me. I vaguely remembered writing it in an essay I'd done in elementary school. I'd even made the title, Whose Eyes Are Those? I could barely remember what that essay was about. Now I wanted to know. What had I written in it? Did they still have it at home? It was so old they'd probably thrown it out years ago. But I'd always had a habit of putting important things in a big empty box of candy I kept. I called it my treasure box. There was a chance it was still there. What should I do? Should I head home and check? But I didn't want to have to face Nami. I wouldn't know what to say.
はあ、僕は
I'm such a
どうしよう
loser.
もなくヘタレだ。
I slowly stood up from my chair, and they went over and collapsed on the sofa.
あなた、なんでここにいんの？
Kya, what are you doing here? Who is talking to what? What is happening? What? Kya! Everyone's like, you're a terrible voice actor. I know. What are you doing here? What am I doing
これ
where?
は違うんだからね。私は別にさ、立ち食いそばが好物なわけじゃないさ。
This isn't what it looks like. It's not like eating cheap soba at a roadside stall is one of my favorite things to do, is okay? What is...
何ニヤニヤしてんの？
What are you smiling at, dork?
もうこん
Now I'm mad. What is
なれ、
happening?
侍コンデンサー。
Take this, samurai condenser. This is am I listening to an anime? I looked up the ceiling, half listening to Sarah's dialogue. Okay, it's anime. Okay. The blood tune. The ceiling was made of cold, exposed steel. Okay. There was nothing like knots in wood or grain for me to look at and pretend I was seeing a human face.
ん
Huh? Suddenly, in the corner of my eye, I saw a metal box. Design I recognized mixed in with the boxes of H games on my bed in the
あれっ
loft.
て
Is that... Okay. Why was I seeing fucking faces in the fucking metal up there? Heck, I was even seeing outlines of people. I leapt off the sofa and went up the ladder to look at the bed. Okay. A square reddish-brown box about the size of B5 sheet of paper. Written on the lid was Sable? This was it, my treasure box. I must have brought it from home. What, did me thinking about it materialize it from my house into my fucking apartment, air quotes, into my loft house? I mean, technically that's an accurate description of what my home is. It's a loft. You know, it's on top of a fucking skyscraper. I must have brought it from home. I didn't remember bringing it all, but good job me. I brought it down from my bed and opened the lid. It was filled with old tests, essays, scraps of my sketchbook. Most of those papers, just a few tiny objects. Took them all out and began rummaged through them. I found what I was looking for almost immediately. After all, it was at the very top. Whose eyes are those? An old faded essay. Handwriting on the title was awful. Was there some important secret hidden here within the words? Something that Shogun was obsessed with? What did the homeless man mean when he said most special? Yay, I is special. Gulped and began to read, being careful not to miss a single word. Whose Eyes Are Those? By Takumi Nishijo, Class Score 3. I dream a lot. In my dream, I'm a grown-up, and I get in a time machine and go see myself in the present. The grown-up me doesn't look like me at all. So is Shogun me and from a fucking time machine? In my dream, I'm a grown-up, and I get in a time machine. Grown-up me doesn't look like me at all. Also, there are lots of buttons in the time machine. One turns on a shower. One gives you shampoo. I asked the grown-up me how it works, and he said it can go to caveman times or dinosaur times. He asked me what was my worst class, and I said math. He said there's even a switch that will make you good at math. I tried to flip the switch, and he got mad. He said I need to study harder instead. The grown-up me only got mad one time. The other than that, he was nice. He told me which girl I'm going to marry and stuff too, but that's a secret. I also asked about God. He said God's real. I think he's real too. Mom said that God sees everything, so if I do bad stuff, he'll send me to hell. So, I think I shouldn't do any bad stuff at all. I need to be nice to my little sister too. Mom said when you do bad things, it's not God that sees it and comes for you, but the scary man. The scary man is the whose eyes are those monster. If he looks at you, you go to hell. The scary man is the whose eyes are those monster. If he looks at you, you go to hell. God's eyes and the whose eyes are everywhere, and there are lots of them. They're in the sky, and they're on the ceiling, and the walls, and at school. So I need to study a lot and do lots of good things, I think. But since they're always watching, it's embarrassing to go to the toilet or to take a bath. Also, ever since I was little, when I'm not sleeping and I just close my eyes, I'll sometimes dream. My mind is like a game or a manga. But when I do that, the whose eyes are those comes, and so I don't want to do that. I asked Mom, and she said, never do it. But even when I'm writing this essay, I asked grown-up me in my dream about the time machine. He says he knows about it. But I'm a kid, so he wouldn't tell me. So from now on, I want to do lots of good things, so I can beat the whose eyes are those monster. The end.
なんだかよくわからないな。
What the hell was I talking about? About the only thing I got out of reading the essay was that even back then, I had been able to sense the gaze of God. Maybe I was a really weird kid. It seemed impossible to get anything out of this bizarre essay. It had been easier to decipher hieroglyphs. Then I noticed some scribblings on the back of the paper. I remembered back then I loved to scribble on things. Whenever there was a picture of some important old guy in the socialist textbooks, I always give him a funny-looking mustache or sunglasses. I'd love to make little flipbook manga in the corners of my notebooks. I started to have more and more fun drawing one time. I'd even had them buy me a sketchbook. Nobody had ever told me I was good at drawing, though. I flipped over the paper to look at the scribbles, smiling a little as I remembered the past. Okay. IR2. And what I saw was incomprehensible scribbling. Did I draw a picture of a satellite, but it's a demonic spider god, nightmare being, lord, that is watching and controlling all the people? And is that equation up there the thing that Shogun sent me? Incomprehensible, with one exception. There was something I'd seen very recently. The equation. IR2. Was it a formula? Something else? Maybe just a meaningless combination of letters and numbers? I couldn't tell. But it was the same formula Shogun had shown me in the chat when he'd first made contact with me. Whose eyes are those? And IR2. Both of them were written on the back of this essay that I'd written many years ago. One of them I'd even forgotten myself. So if Shogun knew it, that meant he really had been reading my thoughts. Or he was there when I made the fucking essay. Or he's future me using a time machine. Bond was staring close at the file. He sat in Frezia's meeting room, a rather small space in their office, surrounded by shelves that served as one. Yua was sitting across from him, looking timid and scared. Every once in a while, she'd glance across him and she'd look like a kid showing a present to her report card. Bond was reading the report she compiled on Takumi Nishijo and the new gen cases. It even had the chat log between Takumi and Shogun from the day before the crucified incident. Yua's conclusion was Takumi who was behind the new gen killings. Amazing. You looked up all this yourself? Yes, I guess. Yua looked down the street. Momose gave her a comment. She seemed to be staring directly at the Dro Froggy straps in her bag. She was talking to a police detective and the head of a private detective agency. They were professionals at this kind of thing. From their perspective, anything she tried to do on their own would probably just look like a child pretending to be a detective. But both Bon and Mose were impressed with the quality of her report. This is pretty interesting stuff. I can tell you did your homework. The part about Takumi Nishijo having multiple personalities is especially intriguing. Nishijo Takumi has multiple personalities. The murders are occurring while the original personality sleeps, and another one takes over. Yeah, this is fascinating stuff. But I think it's a little too far out there. You don't
西条君
think that Nishijo is the
犯
killer?
人だって考えてないんですか？
How would I even do the things? Can I tell you the truth? Yua's face tensed up for a second, and then she nodded.
警察じゃ
The way the task force sees it, Takumi Nishijo
容疑者として見ていない
isn't a suspect at all.
へえ、
Huh?
そうなの。
Really? It wasn't just Yua. Mose was surprised too. Ban chuckled a little. He leaned back into his chair and put his hands behind his back.
少なくとも
At least in
貼り
terms
付け事件
of the
じゃ
crucified
西条は
case,
白だ
Nishijo is innocent.
遺体を貼り付けて
We were able to
いた
recover
指紋
fingerprints
が
from the
べっ
stakes
たり
used to pin the body to the wall.
西条の指紋を
We
手に
got
入れて
fingerprints
照合
from
していたんだ
Nishijo and tried
全く合致
to
しなか
match
った
them. When did you guys do that? How did you guys do that? They weren't even close.
そ
But Yua began to turn pale and her lips started shaking. And the theory she believed so much collapsed right in front of her. The first thing she felt was guilt, but all the things she had said to Takumi.
杭にあった指紋
Thanks
か
to
ら
those
容疑
prints,
者について
we've
は
almost got our suspect nailed down.
まだマスコミにも
We haven't
報
told
道
the
してない
media yet, though.
けどちなみにそれ
By the way, it was actually Sua who figured that out.
スワちゃんは頑張ってるっていうのに
Sua's out there
バ
working
ンちゃんは
hard,
よくここで
and
のんび
you
りしていられる
here
わね。
slacking off, huh?
実はあれ
Actually,
捜査
they
本
kicked
部
me
から
off the
外
new
され
gen
たんだわ
task force.
はあ
What?
本来の
They
捜査
found out I was looking up the
G
G rate
レー
stuff
トのこととか
instead of doing work, haha.
上司にバレちゃった
From Bond's perspective, there was actually no need for Sua to call him and tell him instead of murder. He wanted to tell his junior partner that, but had missed his chance.
あんたね。
Listen, I
もっと
told you to
う
be
ま
more
く立ち回り
careful
なさ
about
い
this stuff.
よ。まあバンちゃんに。
I guess it's my
G
fault
レ
for
ート
telling
の
you
こと
the
を
G
教え
rate
た
in the
私
first
にも
place,
責
though.
任。
気にすんな
Don't worry about it.
それに
The G rate thing was something I took personal interest in.
気になってたまあ
Anyway,
西条にして
we're
も
still looking into the
貼り付け
possibility that he
以外の
might be
事件
involved in
じゃ
other
まだ
cases
捜査
besides
本部もし
crucified.
かすると
You
ゆうちゃんの
may actually be right
推理
there.
が正しいかもしれん
ニュージェネは
So the police are thinking New Gen isn't actually the work of one
警察は
person.
考えてる。
まだなん
We can't say yet.
ただ
But
ついさっき
we just had our
ダウンの事
seventh
件
case.
個人的には
Personally, I
犯人
think there are
が複数い
multiple
ると
people behind this. Oops, I've said too much. If they find out I decided this, I'll lose my job. Keep that off the record. He smiled mischievously and put his finger up to his lips.
今のはおで
So, on to the point.
え
Huh? Yu was surprised. She was sure she had been called here to talk about Takumi.
聞きたいことって
I wanted to ask you about your school.
ゆあちゃんは
You know, a girl named Senna Aoi.
君の同級
She
生
should
のはずなんだ
be in your grade. Yua thought a little and then shook her head apologetically.
名前は聞いたこと
I
ない
think I've
よ
heard
う
the
な
name,
気
but
が
I've
しま
never
すけど
spoken to her.
ああそうか
Oh, I see. Is
その
she
人が
the killer?
犯人
ああ
No,
全くの別件
this is a totally different
昨
case.
日徹夜
I was
したの
up
も
all
その
last
子の
night
こと調べ
because
てたからだ
I was looking into her.
あんたさっき女子高生
So all
の
that
生態
stuff
が
you
ど
were
うと
saying
か
about
っ
looking
て
into high school girls? Ben gave her a wink. Then he quickly turned back to Yua. You
例えば
even heard any stories
学
about
校
a
で
girl
ものすごい
at your
手品を
school
使う女性とかい
who
るって
say
いう噂を
really good
聞
with
いた
magic
ことは
tricks?
いえ
No,
ありま
never.
せん
さっぱり話が見え
I'm
ない
not following this at all.
何のこと
What are you talking about?
例えば
For instance,
何もない空間
maybe a
から
magic trick
剣
where
を
she
取り出
makes
す
a sword appear out of nowhere? Yua's face jolted up where her expression was filled with shock. Do you also have a D sword?
どうして
How did you know? Bond seemed a little surprised, despite being the one who had asked the question.
心当たりがあるのか
You know something? Yua hesitated a moment before giving him a firm nod.
どこで見た
Where did you see it?
駅の近くの
In a
地下道
tunnel
です
near the station.
西条君と
Nishijo and Kishimoto were... You were there? You were watching the sword shit happening? Nishijo and Kishimoto were. You mean Fess, right? And... Yua gave him a brief description of how she chased after Takumi 2 weeks ago. How she'd gone to the manga cafe to talk to him. How she'd been a little too forceful when talking to him, and he'd run away. How she'd chased him all through Shibuya. How he'd eventually lost her, and then when she was about to give up, she'd seen him and Yase going into a tunnel.
だから
So I
私
hid at the top of the stairs
そ
and
の
watched them.
二人は階段の一
The
番
two of them
下で
were at the bottom of
何
the
か話して
staircase,
いて
talking about something. Oh,
えっと、
I couldn't
どん
hear,
なことを話してい
but
たか
they were talking about...
そしたら
But
突然
suddenly, Kishimoto made a sword appear out of nowhere.
すごく大きな剣
It was really big, too big for it to fit inside a bag.
まさか
No way.
俺が見
The
た
same thing I saw.
え
Huh?
俺が見たのは
When I saw it,
岸本じゃなかった
it wasn't Kishimoto though.
さっき名前を
It
出
was
した
the girl
青
I
い空
just
っていう
mentioned,
少女だ
Sena Aoi.
実は
We've been
葵が
getting
剣を振り回して
testimony
たって
about
いう
her
目撃
swinging
証言が
a sword
渋
around
谷の
all
話
over
を聞いた
Shibuya, you see.
その手品
I wonder if it's
渋
just
谷
a
の若い子
magic
たちの
trick
間で流行っ
the
てるの
kids
か
are
し
into
ら
these days.
でも
But
私が見た
what I
あれは
saw
手
didn't
品
look
に
like a
はとて
magic
も見え
trick
ませんでした
at all.
それに
That's what makes it magic! And,
他にも何か見た
did you see something else?
信じてもらえるかどうか
I didn't tell anyone
わからなくて
about this because
誰にも
I wasn't sure anybody would
話
believe
したあ
me.
の時
But I didn't just see her make a sword appear. Yua paused for a moment to wet her dry lips. She didn't seem sure whether or not she should speak. Her gaze was wandering around the room, looking somewhere but not the people in front of her. But eventually she seemed to make up her mind and look straight at Momose.
二人に分身
She split into
し
two.
たんですまるで本
It
当に
was
その
like
場に
there
二
were
人いるみた
really
いでし
two
た
of her there.
私
I
わけ
couldn't
がわからな
understand
く
what
て
was going on at all. There was a heavy silence in the meeting room. None of the three of them seemed to have any idea what to say. Wait a minute. What if Mia never actually existed? Like, what if, like, each of these people is a split person? Like, what if Shogun is, like, somebody I made and is a split from me? And what if Mia was never real either? What if Mia was a split created, like a delusional? So what if there never really was a Mia? I mean, there was somebody that fell off a building. Or was there? Maybe it was somebody else. I don't know. Maybe it was a fake person that I made real. And I don't know what's happening now.
とにかく
Okay, so we
一体
don't
ど
know
んな
how
種があ
they're
るのか
doing
わかん
it,
ねえが
but it looks like
こんな手
there are
品み
several
たいな
people in
真似ができる
Shibuya
連中が
who can do these
この
magic
渋谷に
tricks.
それと
And
岸本綾瀬
we also know that
青い
Sena
空
Aoi and Yase
西条
Kishimoto
匠と接
have
触
made
した
contact
こと
with
は
Takumi
確認済みだ
Nishijo.
これが偶
It's
然
hard to
と
believe
運命な
that's a
わけ
coincidence.
西条くん
Nishijo.
あの少年の周
It
囲では
feels like there's
現
something
実離れ
very
したことばか
strange
りが起きてい
going
る
on
ような
around
気が
that
する
kid. Bond remembered what he said during this phone call.
怪獣か魔法使い
If we're lucky,
ならよっぽどいい
It's just giant monsters and mages. The other two didn't hear his whisper. Mostly had one of her employees bring them tea to break the oppressive silence. She took a sip and sighed. Then she forced a smile and tried to change the subject. Why do I feel like if there was an IHOP anywhere near, I'd go to IHOP and get like omelets and some pancakes and some waffles. And everyone's like, "Are you going to stop being fat anytime soon?" I'm like, I was just... Omelets are nice, okay? She forced a smile and tried to change the subject.
ところでゆあちゃん
So,
その
Yua,
カバンにぶら下がっ
those
てる
little
カエル
froggies on your bag, are
最近流行って
those
る
big
ん
with
で
the
しょ
kids these days?
あはい
Oh, yes. Are the frogs actually secretly small transmitters? Everyone's like, why did you burp into the microphone? Because I had to burp. Maybe you should stop chugging tea. I'm like, it's good. It's pure leaf, no sugar, real brewed tea. It's like, are you sponsored? No. Just thirsty. Is that a sexual joke? Yes. It's like, I'm trying to be funny, and everyone's like, you're failing. You're failing hard. It's like, oh yes. Liu let out a sigh of relief. Glad to be off the
なん
subject.
て言うんだっけ
What are they called again?
ゲロカエル
Garo froggies. Dr.
いろいろ種類が出てるん
Gero
じゃなかった
as an
10種類ぐら
amphibian.
い
There are a lot of different types, aren't there? 10 or so?
はい私
Yes.
はその友達からもらっただけなの
I
で
just got them from a friend. I really don't know much about it. Them.
なんだってこんな手抜き商品があるんだ
Why would something like that that was made so lazily be so popular? I'm way cuter than these things.
バンちゃん
Bond,
仕事は寝てから言いなさい
don't be ridiculous.
平時上
I thought it was a funny joke. Yeah, exactly. He gets
私
it.
も
I actually
どうして
don't
流
know
行ってい
why
るのか
they're
よくわか
popular
らないんです
myself. Is it because of the Noah 2 space magic?
あら、結構可
Oh,
愛
I
いと
think
思
they're
うけど
cute.
ね。
Though.
桃ちゃんの見る目も
You're going to
衰えたな。
blind your old age, Momo.
セロンは私
The
の
rest
正
of
しいと
Japan
証明してる
agrees
じゃ
with
ない。
me, though.
バンちゃんも買いに行った方
You
がいい
should
わ
go
よ。
buy one for yourself.
一体どこへ行けば
Where
買
can
え
you
る
even
もの
get them?
えっと
Oh,
ゲロカエ
there
ル
are
の
Jiro
専
Froggy
門ショ
stores
ップが
everywhere.
あちこちにあって
Wouldn't I have seen them?
専門ショップだ。
Jiro Froggy stores.
そこで
If you
金
go
曜日に
there
行
on
列
Friday
に
and
並
stand
べ
in
ば買え
line,
ると思います。
you can probably get one.
金曜日。
Friday.
毎週金曜日に
They
新
always
しいデ
release
ザイ
new
ンのものが
designs on
発売にな
Fridays.
るんです。
Girls who like them tend to
好き
try
な
to
子
buy
は
them all.
え
Bon and Mose began to glance at each other as Yua spoke. Bon was stroking his chin.
金曜。
Friday. Huh.
流行るとは思えない。
Something that should be popular. Suddenly becoming a huge... Shouldn't be popular. Suddenly becoming a huge hit. The G rate goes up every weekend.
まさかバンちゃん。
Don't tell me, Bon. It's worth looking into. Dr. Giro is influencing the GE rate. When I went to school on Thursday, I got an unexpected offer from Masumi to go visit Yase in the hospital. I hadn't thought of that at all, and it caught me off guard. But for some reason, before I could answer, Rimi had said she wanted to go. I ended up going along with them. Just to be clear, it's not that I was some cold person who didn't care about. It's just like, one, why would they let me go see her? I'm just some random dude. Not like I'm related to her or something. And two, I mean, would she want to see me? I mean, why would she want to talk to me? I mean, she'd probably be happier if I didn't talk to her. Just to be clear. But with the threat of Shogun looming, I didn't have it in me to worry about other people. I don't want to die. Masumi had gone in through the front door, but when he got to the lobby, he didn't seem sure what to do.
どうしたの？
What's wrong?
いや、
I just realized that I don't know what room she's in.
どこなんだろうなって思ってよ。
Had he come all this way without actually bothering to check? If so, what an
ここは
idiot.
外来棟
This is an outpatient wing.
病棟は
The
隣。
inpatient rooms are next door.
そうなのか。
Really?
大ちん、
大ちん
しっかりしてよ。
Get yourself together. AH Tokyo General Hospital. This was the hospital where I'd come to ever since I was little. I had just been here a little while ago, in fact, so I was pretty good idea of the basic layout. Suddenly I remembered what had happened to Dr. Takashina and let out a small moan that the others didn't hear. As Masumi headed for the inpatient rooms, I looked behind me.
で、
So, what do you think her room number is?
そんなの
I don't
わか
know.
んないよ。
This was a general hospital with any number of departments, and I would guess
多分
maybe
外科
surgery.
じゃんでももしか
Oh,
する
but
と
maybe the
精
mental
神科
ward.
かも。
When she'd fallen, she had looked like she wasn't badly injured, and if she was bad enough shape mentally to try and jump off a building, it was entirely possible they put her there. It happened to me after the incident out front for some reason.
タクってものすごいだ
Taku,
な。
you're pretty smart.
常識でしょ。
Everybody
常
knows
識
this. Everybody, right, Taku? Maybe not everybody. I wouldn't have known unless I'd been here so many times. Rimi stopped just before. I also look at that Rimi was meeting Shogun at a hospital as well. It's like Shogun just live here. Is this where he lives? I mean, he is a really old dude. He probably needs medical attention, so it makes sense. He probably has like a room rented. Rumi stopped just before we got. Must have really good insurance. Got the inpatient area.
私、お手洗い行って
I'm going to use the restroom. You guys, go on ahead. Okay. Is it because Ayase would have some sort of emotional reaction to you? Like, do you guys know? Is there more to like that going on there, or is it? Oh, you have to go stop in with Shogun. You're like, hey, my boss is here, so I need to go talk to my boss at secretly a serial killer. She waved and headed back toward the hospital outpatient wing. Assuming I figured that we'd bother the other patients if we wandered about, so I had to ask Ayase at the nurse station. Just like I thought, they gave us a number of room and psych ward. Hello? It appears to be empty. The room was small and simple in layout. There was a bathroom on the right-hand side of the entrance and a bed near the back. The evening sun was pouring in through the window on the far wall. There was no sign of Yase herself. The bed was unmade. She must have been here a little bit ago. Is the sword still here that we can see? Or did they just not change the fucking background image? After all this, I'm pretty sure the creators of this game are not lazy. Where'd she go? I don't know. The window was open. The wind was blowing in the room, making the white curtains billow. It had been bothering me ever since I came into the room. I felt awful negative delusions coming on, like she might have jumped out the window. Like if I looked down, I'd see her below, covered in blood, brains splattered on the pavement. I'm pretty sure the people outside would have noticed, though. And there'd be like ambulance noises. I don't know, do you turn on ambulance sirens if you're in front of a hospital? Or is that just redundant? I had to see. I walked to the window, shaking legs like a man possessed. Stood at the window. The sky was full of color evening. The air was crisp, full of fall. I wanted to see if it looked below. Something terrible? I gulped and very slowly leaned my head out the window below. There was nothing there at all. I couldn't see Ayase's body on the ground below. I must have been overthinking things. Relieved, I went to pull my head back inside. Suddenly I noticed something. What? The window on the floor below ours, there was a towel there flapping in the wind. Is there a note written on it? I thought it was just a white towel, but I could see what was looked of blue letters. The way it was flapping made it hard to read. I really didn't care about it anyway. Why should I care about the letters on a towel? But for some reason I found myself trying to desperately read it. And then I looked closely at the solid letters said, whose eyes are those? Yep. Fuck. Whose eyes are those? So here's the thing. Is her sword actually there, or did they forget to, like, make a version of the room that didn't have the sword? And I couldn't speak. I couldn't look away. And then an unseen hand pulled the towel inside, as if they'd known I'd seen it just now. No, that was impossible. There was no way that somebody... Is that Rimi down there? Is Shogun's room right below me? There was no way somebody could know I could not be in the hospital room right below this one. And even if somebody was, patient, waiting for me, they'd no way now to look out the window or not. There weren't any security cameras in the room. It was just a coincidence. It had to be. But what if it wasn't? Terrified, I looked back at the door. Nobody was there. The door was closed. I backed away from the window, feeling scared, and creeped out. Don't think about it. Force yourself not to think about it. It's coincidence. Just coincidence. I kept repeating to myself over and over. Look, Taku. There's a weird book here. I looked up as Masumi said my name. He had taken a book off the shelf, was reading it. Check it out. It's a copy of New. I didn't even know this was still running. New is a magazine that dealt with UFOs, alien psychic powers, religions, urban legends, strange drama, ancient super civilizations, and lost technology. Sounds like a good read. Anything other than tangentially related to the occult. It didn't surprise me in the least that a girl who constantly talked about crazy stuff like Ase was reading it. And this paperback here, the apocalyptic Psalms of the Book of Gladiol, looks like a fantasy novel. I never heard of the book, but I had heard the word Gladiol somewhere before. Where was it for? I felt like it had been really recently. Sai, if I'm going to date Kishimoto, I'll have to put up with her hobbies too, huh? That'll be rough. Was he still planning on dating Ayase? Like, don't you have like 20 girlfriends, man? Last time, she'd been shot him down hard. Huh? Okay, we're noticing the sword. Suddenly I realized Ayase's D sword was leaning up against the wall. Its shape reminded me of a space battleship that you might see in a sci-fi movie. Every time I saw it, I was struck by how cool it looked. And every time I combined beauty... Shouldn't you be able to like summon your D sword to you if it's already real booted? You know, like Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. Right now, it was sitting there, or Stormbreaker. Still, could you feel its heavy presence? Masumi showed an indication he saw the sword. I guess normal people really couldn't see them. Maybe if I just took it without telling Ase, would it be mine then, right? If I could get a D sword that easily, then all my problems would be solved, right? I gulped and reached out for the weapon with a trembling hand and went to grab the blade. I thought I'd grabbed it, but my hand passed right through it. I grabbed only thin air. I tried again, but the same thing only happened. I couldn't take it. I couldn't even touch it. Was the sword not real booted right now? And since there was no shared awareness of his existence, it was just a delusion of Yase's? Here's the thing. If I'm touching her delusion, is she aware of it? Is it like pinging, like a doorbell ringing? An illusion, a dream, an afterimage. Cells like looking at Goku. Wait, how do you make an afterimage move like, bah! What the hell are you doing? I'm just stretching, man. Asumi looked at me confused. I'm just stretching, dude. We waited another 10 minutes, but there was no sign of Yase. Rimi, who supposedly had gone to the bathroom, and totally not hanging a fucking white towel out of a window with words on it to spook me while she's secretly beating a Yase to death with a fucking hammer, was nowhere to be seen either. Where had she gone?
リミって
Did
この
Rimi
病室の場所を知
know
っ
what
てた
room
か
Ayase was in?
あ、
We'd asked about the room, the nurse station, after splitting up with Rimi. She might wander around looking for us. I mean, wouldn't she also just ask the nurse?
あいつバカだから
Rimi's
な
pretty dumb. She might
俺
not
たちみ
think
た
of
いに
asking somebody
誰
like
か
we
に
did.
聞こうって発想がないのかもしんねえぞ
探しに
Let's go look for her. I was nervous without her around. There was no way to know for sure if this hospital was safe. If Shogun was remine, he'd know exactly where it was.
そうだな
Yeah, I'm tired of waiting, and you're probably pretty lonely without
Takumo.
her. Haha.
なあ
Hey,
ぶっち
tell
ゃ
me
け
the truth. What's the
リミ
deal with you
は
and
どう
Rimi?
なんだ
Huh?
付き合ってんの
I'm
かって
asking
聞
if
いてん
she's
だ
your
よ
girlfriend, you know? You two are
Why?
spending an awful lot of time
最近
together,
結
right?
構
付き合
Well,
って
we're
な
not
いよ
dating. As I spoke, my face flushed. Me and Rimi, dating? I had had some delusions about the idea, sure. That's normal. Everyone has delusions about that sort of stuff. I wasn't into 3D girls, but Rimi was a pretty big part of my life now. But when Rimi had offered to stay by my side, she'd also said this.
そんなの友達だからに
Because
決まって
we're
るでしょ
friends. Right? Are we? Are we, though? You know, Lunar saw you talking to Shogun about wanting to kill me. In other words, she saw me as a friend. She'd have no interest in dating a creepy otaku like me, obviously. And Rimi didn't seem like the type to want to date anyway. Masumi and I decided to split up and look for her. Masumi checked the floor below, so I went to check this one above us. Maybe I should have checked the one. Am I? Where are you? Amy. Ami. I passed by an elderly man in his 50s. That's not elderly! It was clearly a patient here. He was slowly staggering down the hallway, calling out for Amy, whoever that was. I ignored him and kept talking. Walking around the hospital didn't really bother me as much as I thought it would. It was probably because I'd been here so many times. Still thought Shogun might appear from behind every corner. An open door made my heart race. There were those strange screams I sometimes heard too. They were bad for my heart. The walls and the floor of the hallway were all the same off-white color. Some doors were open and some weren't. I peeked inside a few of them to see if Shogun was lurking there. Each room had 2 beds. I could see human-shaped forms beneath the sheets. Those must have been the patients sleeping, but for some reason all of them turned away from me, and I couldn't see their faces. There weren't many people out in the hallway. There had been an old man calling Emmy and a nurse, and had been the only 2 I'd seen. I didn't want to stay here too much longer. I wasn't sure why, but that's how I felt. The air felt heavy. It wasn't unpleasant, but it felt like I didn't belong here. As I kept going forward, I saw the hallway turn to the right. There must have been rooms down there as I nervously rounded the corner. What the fuck? I saw a wall right in front of me. That's not a normal wall. That's like the edge of the fucking universe. Is my computer running low on memory? Unlike the off-white color of the walls, this one was painted pure black. For some reason, my heart began to race faster and faster. I couldn't move. My vision began to swim. I thought I was just feeling dizzy and closed my eyes, but when I put my fingers around my eyelids, I could feel my eyes twitching beneath them. A cold feeling, like ice, worked up its way through my body from below. I stood there completely still, forgetting to breathe. I stared at the black in front of me. It felt like it was pulling me, drawing me in, an endless black that continued on for eternity. There was nothing there, but somebody was watching me. I could feel the gaze of God stabbing into the back of my neck. It was far, far worse than it had ever been at the base. Don't look at me. I used every scrap of my mental power I had to force my eyes closed. Only then could I breathe, panting as I stepped back. I lowered my head and turned around and ran. I headed back to the floor of Yasu's room as fast as I could, stopping to catch my breath only after I had headed down the stairs. I touched my neck and found that it was covered in a thick, sticky layer of sweat, and it wasn't just my neck, my whole body was soaked. What the hell was that? Was it Shogun reading my mind? I could still sense the gaze of God. It was still hard to breathe. I was still cold. I felt exhausted. I wanted to go home. I wanted to have Rimi take me back to the base, and then I could stay there and never leave it again. Even if I did manage to find Ayase, she'd be annoyed, not happy to see me. Masumi was only here because he was trying to get laid. I was an idiot to play along with it. I should just go home, before Shogun and Yuen show up. Those two could appear at any time, anywhere, and they'd be able to find me easily. I couldn't relax anywhere. I headed back to Ayase's room. I was staggering, barely able to walk. I had to put my hand on the wall of support. Was Masumi back, I wondered? I slowly kept moving forward, praying that he'd managed to find me. Mr. Yamai was calling for Ami again. I could hear the two voices of the nurses walked up. The new nurse walking in. One was young, one was a plump older woman. Who is he looking for, do you think? It's an old ghost story about this hospital. There's a room here that nobody can find, and it belongs to a patient named Ami. The rumors have been around for years. I put my head down and waited for the two. So, was I seeing that guy's delusion? I held my breath so they couldn't hear how much trouble I was having breathing. I could tell they weren't looking at me suspiciously, but all I could do was try to ignore them. When they were gone, I started to walk in. Somehow I managed to make it to the nurse's station. Ayase's room was in front of the nurse's station. I must have passed it. I groaned and went to side off my forehead. It still felt like somebody was watching me. I could feel a piercing sensation in my chest. My ears were ringing too. It felt awful. It seemed like I was going to pass out at any moment. I'd been just fine when I got here. What had happened to me? I was in so much pain I couldn't take it. I decided to get help from one of the nurses at the nurse station. Hi, I know you. Are you Grim? Is she Grim? Do you play ESO? Are you my World of Warcraft buddy? You're cute. Then again, all the women in this game are cute. But there was only one person there. Evidently, she hadn't noticed me. She had her back turned and was muttering something as she worked. There was a clipboard in her hand. She was writing something on the paper it held. Oh, I met her before. It was Hazuki, the nurse. That's right. This was the mental ward at the H Tokyo General Hospital. Are you okay? Are you possessed? Of course she'd be here. I'd talked to her twice just last month. Perfect. If she saw me, she'd help me out immediately. Just then, I heard a beeping noise. It sounded important. Hazuki put down her clipboard and flipped on a switch in front of her. The beeping noise stopped. Hello? Evidently, someone hit the button to call a nurse. She quickly ran out of the nurse's station. She seemed not to notice me. I was suffering so much, just a few feet away from her, and she didn't even see me. I mean, we are invisible. I couldn't stand. The vertigo was incredible. Helplessly, I went inside the nurse's station and decided to wait for her to come back. I found the stool she'd been sitting on and sat down on it. We were breathing hard. My head hurt so bad it was like an earthquake a week ago. But the pain was different somehow, maybe. I wanted something to drink. It'd been out of... They should have like a water cooler there, right? Also, maybe a thing to make some tea. I'd been out of breath for so long that breathing hurt. I took a glance around me. I saw the clipboard Hazuki was writing on. I couldn't see what was written on it. Hello? What was this? Huh? Last time I'd seen her, she'd been smiling as she written something on it. I thought she was taking down my temperature. Or the names of the drugs I should be getting. Huh? What was this? I couldn't understand. Isn't this? It's the crucified thing? I'd seen it somewhere before. Grimm's drawings! Are you Grimm? Is Hazuki Grimm? After all, the only person I mentioned the idea of liking the girls with glasses was in the one thing to Grimm. Is Hazuki Grimm? I've seen it somewhere before. I've seen this terrible drawing somewhere before. Where? Where have I seen it? My head hurt so bad, the stabbing pain, the prickling at the back of my neck. Don't look at me. I picked up the clipboard. There were several papers there, all medical charts. I flipped through them. The second one had the same terrible picture. I flipped to the next. Third one was the same. The fourth too, and the fifth and sixth. They all had the same picture on them. This picture. It was crucified. The shipping crate that Takumi and Nishijo called home was perched silently on the roof of an old building in Shinsen. Senna was coming here now for the second time. The first time had been a few days prior when she'd run into Takumi Kozue at Center Street. She'd secretly followed him. She'd secretly followed him home, and now that's how she found this place. Senna, we shouldn't be doing this. Kozupi doesn't want to be a thief. Then why did you come? Senna spoke coldly without even looking back at Kozue. Senna had come here to sneak into Takumi's room. Takumi Nishijo wasn't normal. After talking to him several times, that was the conclusion that she'd reached. She was different from normal Gigolo. He was different from the normal, not normal people. He was different from normal Gigolo maniacs like Senna and Kozue. Either the strength of his delusions was incredibly intense, or he was receiving some kind of artificial support. Either way, his very existence seemed like it was unstable somehow. Something about him bothered Senna a lot. She was looking for a man named Hatano. Okay, I don't know who that is. And it was possible that Takumi... Was it the dude at the Mozumi thing? Nozumi? Pandas? I don't know. Possibly Takumi was connected to him somehow. She had no way of being sure. But if there was any chance, even a small one, she wouldn't rest until she'd ruled it out with her own eyes. As long as she kept doing that, she'd find her target eventually. That's what Senna believed. There was a padlock on the door. Senna gave a little snort and brought down the D-sword. She'd already reloaded it. The padlock shattered easily. When Takumi comes back, he'll get mad at you. Or have a panic attack because he's like, oh no, someone broke my... Senna had already seen that Takumi had left school with two friends, heading in the direction of the station. And even if he did find out and didn't care, Senna would do anything to achieve goal, even if it meant making somebody mad, or having them call the cops. Okay. Yeah, my room's a fucking mess. I get it. She opened the door and went inside. Yes, I know. My room is messy. The place was like a garbage dump. Senna couldn't help but wince and give a small moan. It's so filthy, huh? You seem like you're having fun, Kozue. Should I take my shoes off? I think it's more important to have respect for your feet in this situation than respect for the house. Keep your shoes on. Senna sighed and went inside the room without bothering to remove her shoes. There are lots of dolls. Please don't look at all my hentai. I guess Takumi's a big pervert. Wow. Senna ignored Kozue, who seemed strangely impressed for some reason, and went over to the computer. She turned on Takumi's PC, and while she waited for it to boot, she ran her eyes across the contents of the desk. Her eyes narrowed as she picked up an old sheet of essay paper. Whose eyes are those? Hey, 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 hey! It's whose eyes are those? It's whose eyes are those? Kozue had been looking over Senna's shoulder. She was jumping up and down with delight. I knew it! Takumi was the whose eyes are those guy. Kozupi was right. Pon. How do you say that? Senna, however, seemed much less interested in the essay than Kozue. She flipped it over to see if anything was written on the other side. Suddenly her eyes went wide with shock. This is... what she saw there was... Upi? There are lots of people. And is this a robot? I drew a picture of a satellite. Sushi Mungo. Everyone's like, you're saying it wrong. It's a spider god, nightmare dream, Lord of Nightmares thing. It's like, are you combining the stories of stuff of the Slayers anime as well as the Raging Loop visual novel. Like, yes, and technically they both reference the same thing. Lots of fictional game stories use very similar inspirations. The best way to look at it is this: oh, which one's the truth? They all are. The answer is this: if you have a giant warehouse, and you have a bunch of doors everywhere, and you have a bunch of truck bays, and you have a bunch of skylights, even looking in from rooms of offices and such, from doors inside the building, which view is the real warehouse? They all are. You're just seeing it from a different angle. It's all the truth. It says IR2. Yeah, I wrote an equation on it. Senna? Senna was gritting her teeth so loud that you could physically hear it. That'll break your teeth, won't it? I know my teeth wouldn't be. Her expression was even angrier than usual, and her hands shook with rage as she held the essay. So that's it. Nishijo's the one. But how, though? I was in 4th grade. What is the fucking satellite my sword? Nishijo's the one who created IR2. But I don't even know what that is. Her voice was quiet. Senna crumpled up the essay into a ball and then... Shouldn't you have read it? And crushed it with her fist. I got up and left the nurse station, and now I was wandering around the hostel, and brain still felt like it was full of fog. I decided not to think about what I had just seen. Somehow I ended up at the stairwell. Masumi was there, standing in front of the window. What's wrong, Taku? You're soaked in sweat. You look like crap, too. Oh, I guess you always look like crap, huh? Were you running around looking for the two of them? I guess that'd get you out of breath. You're kind of crazy sometimes, you know? I wiped away the sweat and tried my best to pretend I was okay. I found Rimi and Kishimoto, but I couldn't see the two of them anywhere. Then, for some reason, he pointed out the window. There! I took a moment to catch a breath before walking over the window. From the window, I could see the outpatient building next to us. The outpatient and inpatient areas were separate buildings. There were a walkway led between them. The two were a distance apart. The inpatient building was a few stories taller. And from the stairway, I could look down at the outpatient building's roof. Oh, they're on the roof? Okay, cool. There's a garden there, a planter filled with red flowers. There was space for patients to relax. Rimi and Ayase were standing in the middle of the garden facing each other. Ayase was wearing her pajamas. They seemed to be discussing something. The two of them didn't know each other, right? Is it just me, or does it feel like they're talking about something serious? Yeah. They seem to be glaring at one another. Suddenly, Ayase took a step forward and slapped Rimi across the face. Even from here, I could see that she'd given it her full strength. Now, Ayase was walking away from Rimi. If she was heading toward the connecting corridor, she might come back to her room. What happened? She just slapped her, right? I nodded. Rimi was standing there alone. She wasn't moving. Are those two mad at each other? Over something? I hadn't heard anything like that at all. Masumi suggested we pretend we'd never seen it. I eagerly agreed. We decided to leave Rimi where she was and head to Ayase's room. I was feeling a lot better than I had a bit ago. The gaze of God was gone. That awful feeling had disappeared like it would never happened. Oh. Masumi let out a soft gasp. He was walking ahead of me. I looked up and saw Ayase heading toward us. She was looking down at her feet. She seemed sick and pale, and was having trouble walking. Her expression seemed dark, too. We ended up running into each other in front of the hospital room. Hey, Kishimoto? Ayase looked up in surprise at his cheerful greeting. And when she saw me, she gave me a smile that somehow made it look like she was about to cry. Why was she smiling just now? Because she'd heard about the mess at O Front and how much of a fool I'd made of myself, or did she just like me? If it was the former, that was incredibly depressing. We came to pay you a visit. And, wow, you're cute in your pajamas. He was already using his pickup artist skills. Talk about being fast on your feet. Come in. Ayase, for her part, wasn't nearly as cold as she had been to him before. She opened the door and invited us in. She didn't mention the fact that she just slapped Rumi on the roof at all. I wasn't sure whether she was just hiding it, or she was just totally gotten over it in the fact that the short time, as always, it was impossible to tell what Ayase was thinking. Taku, we were totally right to come and visit her. Today's our lucky day. Masumi gave me a little thumbs up, making sure Ayase couldn't see. He was panting a little as he, why are you panting, man? You weren't the one dealing with fucking God. I followed him. I wanted to go home with Rimi, but I didn't have the courage to talk to her right now. I didn't know why it happened, but somebody had slapped her that hard. She must have been feeling pretty bad. I didn't have the words to make her feel better. Ayase sat down in the bed. Masumi sat down next to her, somehow managing to even make it look natural in the process. I was astonished at his boldness. Seeing him go on the offensive was making me feel a little awed. Ayase gave him a glance before fixing her gaze at me. As she stared at me, I didn't know what sort of look I should have on my face. In the end, I decided I should look at my feet. How are you feeling? Looks like you're doing better. If there's anything you need, tell me. I mean it. I'll go get it for you right away. He was staring at her hand. Evidently, he was looking for a chance to grab it. Should I not be here? Oh, do you read books? I'm a big fan of the apocalyptic psalms of the books of Glad. Okay, dude, you're lying to her, though. Dude, you're lying to her. I mean, there's nothing wrong with telling her she looks cute in her pajamas. She does. And that's just like, hey, you look really cute. You're saying a compliment. And then you're like, checking up, seeing how she's doing. That's really fine, too. Now, as far as the book thing, you can mention, hey, I like to read quite a bit. I noticed you have some books. We were here trying to, meet you, and we couldn't find you. We went walk around. And like, hey, could you talk a bit about the book? But you don't outright lie to the person. Why would you lie to somebody? Takumi. Ayase ignored Masumi's question. She said my name. You are one of Gladiol's 7 knights. Huh? There she goes again, even after her failed suicide attempt. Evelyn Ayase's personality hadn't changed. It was the great will that brought the two of us together after all. She spoke softly, unemotionally. She began to share whatever crazy backstory she had in her head. Your wicked heart is incredibly powerful. And that's what makes you perfect. The perfect Black Knight. Your wicked heart is incredibly powerful. And that's what makes you perfect. The perfect Black Knight. All the pain you're experiencing right now is divine punishment. A test set out before you by the great will. When you overcome it, the D-Sword will be summoned. It will come to you. And then it will appear. The great black serpent of wicked hearts. That which is the same and yet different, which swallows all destruction and can shatter the body of the king of wicked hearts. It's all real. Gladiol. Okay, so that guy that said he's also a gigolomaniac, the guy who I can't remember that was smoking looking at Tokyo, he would be the king of wicked hearts, right? It's all real. Gladiol, the D-Swords. The Kamatachi is proof. If it wasn't real, the stories about it wouldn't have been passed down through the ages. Do you know what the word Kamatachi is a corruption of? It means the blade held ready. It refers to a D-Sword. Believe, Takumi. Defeat Gladiol together with me. Gladiol, now I remember. I'd seen it first when I looked up the D-Sword. From what I read, there was a legend of the D-Sword which came from the old text, the Apocrypha, the legend of Gladiol. Supposedly, anyway. I mean, technically, Masumi's getting what he wanted. He's like, hey, I want to know about the Apocrypha. And like, yeah, she's talking about it. And you're fucking living it. Masumi silently stood up and walked toward me. Okay, what's going on, Masumi? As he passed by me, he put his hand on my shoulder.
俺もうつい
Hey, this is too much for me.
あとは任せた
You can have her. Oh, so you're going home. Okay. I'd say drive safe, but none of us have fucking cars. So, just be safe, man. Also, just in case, like, things have been getting kind of fucking crazy out there. Do you have like pepper spray or something on you, man? That way, if somebody like assaults you or something, you can defend yourself. Because, you know, we're in Japan and no one's allowed to own a fucking gun. Or even a sword. Could you imagine if, like weapon shops actually sold like fucking Buster swords, and people were walking around with actual fucking Buster swords with blades? Everyone's like, maybe you're just like being too much of a nerd. I'm like, what can I say? I like cosplay, okay? I'm a nerd, okay? Welcome back to Nishijo Takumi does a Let's Play. This is too much for me. You can have her. Sigh. He let out an annoyed sigh and left the room. This is kind of funny that now I'm thinking about it. Now, granted, I didn't design the character that I used for the VTuber things I've been doing. You know, they're free models. They're copyright free. That anybody can have for free. But the Keine, liebe VTuber model I've been using. From the Keine, liebe playlist. Kinda looks like Nishijo. He let out an annoyed sigh and left the room. Don't leave me alone with her. Ayase seemed completely unnoticed in Misumi's sudden departure, if she'd even noticed it at all. It was as if he'd never been in a room to begin with. She was always like that, always above everything that was going on around her. It was like she saw something different than everyone else. You created it, didn't you? The flower bed? Yes. But I did not know that you knew about that. I was just gonna... But obviously, you're the one who's on the sky. You obviously would have seen if there was a flower bed. Anywhere you were gonna fall. Save. Okay. Where did I... Oh, I saved up here. I thought it was down here. I was confused. Okay, either way, we're saved. So, what the fuck's happening? Again, this sounds like the music from Brave Fencer Musashi. Again, best game ever made for the original PlayStation. About 3 hours. Yeah, we should definitely stop the video. Bye, guys.